Coming to you from Blue Crew Studio in Temecula, California, it's the Whiskey Throttle Show, taking you inside the lives of the legends and leaders in moto and action sports. Today's guest is brought to you by Yamaha. Yamaha is the industry leader in two-wheeled fun and performance. Celebrating 50 years of YZ in 2024, the Blue Crew is still dominating shootouts and competitions. Yamaha, revs your heart. SKDA is the leader in motorcycle graphics. Driven by a combined passion for art and motorcycles, SKDA has become a global leader in the off-road motorcycle space. Their graphics can be spotted from a mile away with a unique design that blends speed and creativity. SKDA, search and supply of true art within moto. Troy Lee Designs, where speed and style collide. TLD blends elite level safety with the style and swagger that only Troy Lee can deliver. Moto, adventure, bike, paint, casual wear, whatever your passion, Troy Lee Designs is waiting for you on the next level. And by Nihilo Concepts, enhance your riding experience with superior products like the start-stop conversion kit, secondary on-switch, billet components, titanium foot pegs, and more, including the new Map Tuner Nano. You can read and clear codes, monitor sensors, log data, and flash and tune the ECU from any Austrian bike. Nihilo Concepts makes exceptional products, all of which are made right here in the USA. Hey folks, thanks for joining us here at the Whiskey Throttle Show. I'm your host, David Pingree, and joining us in the Blue Crew Studios today, an off-road legend, maybe the most decorated racer in the off-road community, particularly on two wheels and four, in the history of off-road, Mr. Larry Rosler, LR. Thanks for coming, man.
David, it's a pleasure. And, we've been trying to do this for a while. So,
well, you're busy. Jeez Louise.
I am keeping busy, and it's pretty exciting. Like we were talking earlier, I've been able to do this, what I love to do, right? Ride dirt bikes and play in the desert and do all sorts of off-road stuff. So I'm still doing it. I love it.
Yeah, it's crazy. We just had Jeff Ward on, and his transition from moto to open wheel car racing, I think, is unrivaled. But what you've done in off-road, lots of guys have tried it, the Degans, Twitch, plenty of guys, even RJ. No one's really had the continued success you have, and it's super impressive. So,
well, I appreciate it.
Excited to get into it.
I still see RJ all the time. We actually, in the truck race, and they've created in the trophy trucks, it's unlimited, right? So they've created a legends class. So it's just a class within the class. You have to be 50 years old or older. Okay. So he's been racing with Gus Vildosola, and they've been pretty much killing it, right? Winning every race. But I was in a trophy truck, but not in the legends class, right? But I was beating them pretty regularly, but I wasn't in the legends class. So I kept teasing them,
ribbing him.
Yeah, you really didn't win.
Well,
so this year though, I am in the legends class. I'm with a different team this year, and we are in the legends class. So San Felipe we just had, and they got first and we got second. So the 500's coming up in June, so the battle's on. The battle's on. So Ricky and I have been friends. Actually, we trained together when he got his first contract with Yamaha in 1980. I rode for Yamaha 80, 81, 82, and I was living in El Cajon. So we were riding together and bicycling and training, and I remember he goes, LR, I can't believe I'm going to get paid this much money to go ride my dirt bike. Yeah. It was like his first big contract. Yeah. So yeah, we're still good friends.
That's awesome. RJ's great. I love that guy. All right. So we start all our shows with the Nihilo Concepts front end chatter. And really, I just wanted to kind of find out for you, how closely are you still following motorcycle racing? You say you still ride. I know you still love it. Obviously you have a passion for going out and going fast, but like the GNCC stuff or NGPC or just kind of all the motorcycle stuff, are you still kind of tuned into what's going on?
So, I love riding my dirt bike. It's helmet therapy for me, man. A matter of fact, I'm just recovering from some broken fingers, but I really don't follow close to the GNCC and the whole, even the desert scene, the Hare and Hounds, Hare Scrambles, a little bit, but I'm a big moto fan.
Oh yeah.
I watch all the supercrosses, all the outdoors, and I get pretty into that. I record those if I can't watch them, or catch it on Peacock, and I even catch some arena cross. I love watching it. So, but yeah, that's it's really entertaining. It's great racing. This year's been fantastic. And I have to tell you, I'm a Roxon fan. So this last week when his shock blew and he just went over the bars, that was just a heart stopper there. That sucked.
That race took out a lot of people. That was something else. I haven't seen that in a while. Well, that's great that you're following it that close. It's too bad. We have such good television packages with Supercross and motocross, and even the arena cross one's gotten better here the last couple of years. And it just stinks we don't have something good like that for off-road, because the off-road motorcycle guys, we got the Dante Oliveira and even the guys in GNCC, like they're incredible riders.
Absolutely.
And they just don't get, I think this is historically, because it's hard to put a TV package together for a loop that's 10 minutes long.
I think that's been the struggle pretty much from the beginning, is just the logistics of it and the expense.
Yeah.
Dakar does a really good job.
But they've got bucks.
Yeah, big bucks, and it's once a year, right? Big production.
That's helicopters and
big production, yeah. And so for us to do it almost every weekend kind of thing, and scores 6 races a year. So I think just getting the money behind them is tough. Yeah. It's always been tough, and you don't have the spectators. I mean, obviously you have the fans that are out there, but like a Supercross, for example, that's. But
the thing is, I feel like off-road, maybe not truck racing, because not many people can afford a trophy truck, but the motorcycle side anyway, I'll speak to that. There's more people that go out and ride off-road than motocross and Supercross, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the audience would be there if we had a good package for them. It's
I totally agree. Yeah. And that even back in the day when I was riding, I was always, trying to better my program, better my contracts, right? Yeah. And all the bikes were motocross bikes, and we were converting them to off-road bikes. But like you said, there was more of those bikes were being used off-road than on the track. So it was hard for them to really identify, what we're really worth, as a marketing package. So,
well, now I can tell you that the largest number of units sold as far as dirt bikes go is an off-road bike.
Yeah.
It's an off-road model.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, obviously nowadays I think the light clicked, look at KTM, they took it and ran with it.
Yeah. The 500 EXT, it's best selling.
And they just dominate the off-road market.
Well, I don't know the answer there. I just think it's interesting. What about, did I hear you're doing some training with the military? Are you doing some of that? I know Lammy was, and
I'm actually working with Lamson.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah. So the contract is it's through a friend. Our boss is he's an ex-SEAL himself, so he has the contract, and we do it's a 12-day course. So I get to see Steve all the time.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
So we just had one of his old factory race bikes that a collector had bought, and we went and rode it, he and I together. That old Husky from 01.
Yeah.
Not a great bike, but it was fun to kind of pick his brain about what he remembered. And he was telling me he did something where you're just in a little like a crash helmet, like a skate kind of helmet looking thing, but you had the night goggles that pop down, and he goes, dude, trying to ride with night vision is wild. Yeah.
We've done several rides. It's just they call it a bump helmet. It's just like a bicycle helmet basically. Yeah. But the night vision goggles a trip, cause you're just looking in these, like cardboard tubes, like kind of thing, and 2 toilet paper rolls, but it's amazing. I mean, you look in the sky with the naked eye and you don't see any stars, let's say, on a given night. And then with the night vision goggles, it's like millions and millions and millions of stars.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you see satellites, you see everything. It's pretty amazing. So it can be, you can't see the hand in front of your face. And then you put the goggles on. It's like, holy mackerel.
Lights up.
Yeah. But
that's great, man.
Just your balance and your depth perception is a little weird riding, but you adjust, you get to it. Yeah. You get used to it.
You guys are getting to do some neat stuff and doing God's work out there, training our boys.
Well, and it's been very rewarding. I mean, it's a 12-day class, and we get 12 guys at a time. So, just teaching them how to stay safe and sort of reading the terrain, and we get into some mechanics, so obviously we want to keep them safe, and just, it's hard to, in 12 days to,
Yeah.
crush it all in the, stuff that we've learned over,
Are you getting guys who have no off-road experience?
There's guys that have they don't even know how to drive a stick shift,
Wow.
a manual transmission. So guys that never been in the desert or, so yeah, you get
tall order.
There's from A to Z.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, that's cool to hear you guys at least getting to work together still. That's fun.
Right on.
All right. Well, let's get to it. I want to just encourage you guys to go swing by whiskeythrottlemedia.com. We're putting out a bunch of off-road content, moto, dual sport, you name it. We got merch for sale. So go check all that out. Also, if you need some coaching, we have an online platform at elevateactionsports.com or Elevate Motocross on Instagram. Jeff Emig, Ryan Hughes, Grant Langston, myself, Johnny Campbell, contributing some off-road stuff. So really good stuff. Check them out. And let's get to our story here with LR, brought to you by Yamaha. So tell me where you grew up. Did you say San Diego area?
No, I actually grew up in the San Bernardino Riverside area.
Okay.
Yeah. So, back then.
What year were you born, just to give me some reference?
57.
Okay, different world.
Different world.
Oh, yeah.
So the valley back then was all orange groves and grape vineyards.
Yep.
So I could ride real close to the house, and we were close to the high desert, of course. And so just a lot of riding. After school, I could go ride in the fields nearby, and it was just a family outing for us on the weekends.
That's how you guys started.
My dad. Fun, my parents moved out from Minnesota, and sort of lived the California dream. And my dad, he had done some flat track racing. He actually wanted to race Ascot and did, and broke his arm and leg. I think I have a picture. I'm less than a year old, and he's all banged up, hit the wall at Ascot. So he got introduced to the desert. I don't really know who introduced him to that, but it just, next thing you know, it was like every weekend going out to the District 37 races. And he actually got the #1 plate in the 100cc class. Back then they called it the trail bike class.
Okay.
They don't even have that anymore. But back in the day, there would be over 150, 200 of that class, 100cc bikes, little trail bikes.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So that's pretty much how I got, introduced to the desert.
So you got your first bike pretty young then?
So my first mini bike, I was 5 years old. It's a hardtail Briggs and Stratton.
Yeah. The picture you sent is great. We'll put it up in the show.
Yeah.
It's your father and your grandfather.
Yeah. Yeah. That picture's a classic.
Oh man, it's great.
So actually my first trophy, you guys will definitely laugh about this, is from Paris Raceway, and it was called the English Trials. So it was a trials meet, right? Okay. But so my age group, I was only 5, but I don't know what the age group ended at, 10 or 11 or something. But they made these simple little obstacles for us, right? And that was my first trophy.
That's great. You still have it?
I don't think I do.
Okay.
But that was at Paris Raceway.
Gosh, which is cool that Paris is still around.
Yeah.
You know? All of these old tracks have really gone away.
Yeah. I used to go to Paris a lot when I was a kid.
Jeez, that's cool. Any siblings?
I have a sister that lives in Florida.
Okay.
Yep, that's it. And, she rode a little bit back in the day, but she moved, family and...
Sure. She younger than you?
She's 14 months younger.
Okay.
Yep.
And then before you kind of got heavy into the bikes, did you play any other sports as a kid or?
I loved baseball, but I just sucked at it, you know, and ran track, but I just wanted to go home and ride my dirt bike.
Yeah.
That's what pretty much, and even in school, like even the teachers, I remember they were telling me how, well, that's not going to take you anywhere. And, you need to study, you need to, all the sports. Right.
Yeah.
And no, on the weekend, I can't do the game because I'm going to the desert, and little did I know that my racing was going to take me all over the world.
Took you somewhere. Definitely took you somewhere. What riders did you look up to back then? I mean, I think in those early days, motocross was barely even a thing, huh? It was like you're saying, scrambles and trials stuff.
Yeah, I didn't really know anything about moto back then. So growing up in the Riverside area, he's the man. Malcolm.
Yeah.
You nailed it, Malcolm. So I can remember going to a race in Banning, Beaumont area, and in a van with Malcolm driving. My dad's in the right seat, and I'm sitting on a milk crate in the middle. And I can remember just like looking up at Malcolm, looking up at my dad, and I'm going to the races. They would race. He got first. My dad got second. And I rode around the truck all day, on my mini bike and going back to school. And like, what'd you do this weekend? And I mean, this is like on any Sunday kind of era, Yeah. So I was pretty proud of all that.
What a cool memory.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's awesome. And even another Malcolm story that's awesome is the Saboba Grand Prix back in the day was big. And it was sort of I think he tells the story too, sort of handed off the baton, to me. It was like we raced all day together. I was first, he was second, and he just chased me all day long. We'd lap third place.
Jeez.
And he tells that story. He goes, I couldn't catch you. I couldn't catch him, And then, and I tell the story. Yeah, I just keep looking over my shoulder and I couldn't shake him, So it was pretty awesome. I mean, obviously he's my hero, and here I am at an age, I was probably like 18, I think at the time, and 17, 18. And I actually beat him.
Yeah.
So
beating your hero. I mean,
it was pretty special.
Yeah. It's like when McGrath beat Stanton at Anaheim in 93, like changing of the guard. But I'm sure for Jeremy, he's like, I just passed Jeff Stanton and beat him. You know what I mean? Same thing. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So and Malcolm was just like, he's one of those guys, they say don't meet your heroes. Man, he just delivers. That guy's a sweetheart.
Yeah, no, he's been such an icon in the sport, and just love the guy.
Did you at that time, and I asked guys this from that era, and they go, I said, did you have aspirations of becoming a pro? And they're like, being a pro motorcycler wasn't really a thing. Could, at that age, there wasn't anybody making a real good living doing it. Yeah. Was that kind of the case? You were just doing it for the love of it.
Yeah, for sure. And what really had a big influence on me was Malcolm and watching, like him doing the Baja 1000, him doing the 6 days, Didn't know I was going to really be able to make a living at it, but I just knew that's what I wanted to do. That was really cool. And I got all those opportunities. I've did 13 ISDEs. I got 10 gold medals. Matter of fact, the first gold medal, I think was, I want to say 78, but I remember Malcolm sent me a letter and congratulated me. I wish I had that letter and I wish I would have framed it, but at the time I don't know it's that important, right? Yeah. The significance of it, but
would you keep the helmets?
I do have
the skunk helmets.
I do have a lot of helmets. Okay. I don't have 13 of them, but I got a handful of them.
Where do they go? Because I tried to keep a helmet from every year I raced, but some of them still, and I'm like, gosh, where'd they go?
Yeah, that's a good question. I couldn't. I had a storage shed broke into, and a lot of stuff got taken out, a lot of missing. Like I told you earlier, just over the years, just things get misplaced or borrowed. I mean,
yeah.
It's weird how it just like disappears,
Yeah. Well, you move too. That's always the big
moving
thing.
And yeah.
Wardy was telling me he's got 2 big sea containers when he moved last time. He goes, they're out on my property. He goes, there's probably stuff in there that I can't even remember I have. And I go, if you ever go through them, man, let me just come and be there. I want to see this stuff come out.
Yeah, I have tubs of stuff too, and I haven't looked in them in years.
That's awesome. And you grew up, like you said, racing District 37. And I called Mitch Payton the other day just to see if he had any good LR stories. Of course, he had some. We'll get to those. Bones, too. Bones is super big fan.
Absolutely. I love Bones.
But he was telling me the District 37 was kind of like the place to be. I mean, if you were a good off-road racer, this is where District 37, which is Southern California here. I think San Diego's 38.
38, yeah.
And so he goes, but this was where you wanted to come and be. And that was kind of where you cut your teeth. Huh?
Yeah, that's pretty much yes, exactly. That was, just being Southern California and District 37, that was where the J.N. Roberts and the Whitey Martinos and the list goes on and on, right? That's where they all came from.
And his, JN's son is a stuntman in Hollywood now.
Yep.
Jimmy
Yep.
is a buddy of mine. So it's funny to hear those stories about him. Were you on a Harley? When did you get a deal with Harley? Because that was kind of your first ride.
Yeah, that was like the first real ride.
Okay.
So those were like 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, those years.
Which would have made you 16, 17, 18-ish?
Yeah, 15. So 72, Mitch Mays was a little
Peyton said that name.
Yep. Yeah. Mitch was a little older than us. And when I moved up from the 100cc class, which was the Harleys, then I got a deal with Husqvarna. So that was I started with Husky in 75, actually sort of end of 75, leading into 76. And Mitch and I won the 1,000 together. That was my first Baja 1000 overall win, was with Mitch Mays.
Oh, yeah?
In 76. 75, Bruce Ogilvie and I won the Baja 500 on a 250 Harley. I don't know if you remember those.
Well, so the Harley, is that kind of what like Tripes and those guys were racing?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So it was
fast, but didn't.
Well, it was an Italian-made motor that Harley was bringing over. Okay. That's the same thing with the 100cc. It was I forgot the manufacturer, but they were producing the frame and the chassis. And with an Italian motor, it was horrible.
It was.
So for us, we had frames made and copied Husqvarna dimensions. We used like Yamaha forks, a Honda seat, Kernut shocks.
Just a bastard bike.
Yeah, we just but it was Husky at the time, right? What bike is the best?
Yeah,
it was a Husky, right, in the desert. So Bruce and I ended up winning the Baja 500 overall together, and that was pretty special. 250 Harley, that was just unheard of, right?
Yeah, geez, I didn't know Harley had won the Baja. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I remember passing Al Baker down by Camelou on the beach, and I was catching him, and I remember he looked over his shoulder and he like changed lanes on me. I'm like, oh, that's weird. I mean, I'm so naive, right? So I changed lanes and I go by him, and then later I like it all dawned on me, like, well, that son of a gun, he was like roosting
trying
me,
trying
to cut me off, and it was just a straight road, and it's funny, I still go on that road to this day. We race on it in the trucks, and every time I go by there,
I think about that moment?
Oh, of course.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Of course.
Yeah,
no, it's awesome.
And Al Baker, if I have this right, his grandson is Travis Baker, who raced motocross, right? Because it was Al, and then his dad's name is, or his son's name is...
that I'm not sure of, actually.
I'm pretty sure that's the case. So anyway, long legacy of racing.
Yeah, no, some great memories there. But so...
And just quick for the listeners too, Bruce Ogilvie was really not only a great racer, but he developed Honda's off-road program well into the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And he had a huge influence on Johnny Campbell's and all those guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, he took all that, his experience, and I went to Yamaha. He was with Yamaha with me for a couple years, but then that was in the early 80s. I actually went back to Husqvarna, and then that's when he started with his Honda relationship, and huge influence on their whole off-road program. And like you said, Johnny was definitely his under his wing.
Who are like some of the guys as you kind of were, I guess you were turned pro at that point, 15, 16?
Yeah, I was, making a few bucks, and still living at home, and just,
That was really when racing kind of started expanding, right? I mean, motocross sort of became more a thing, and some of the off-road stuff got bigger. Who were the guys you were competing against? Like, who were some of your rivals in that era? It sounds like Ogilvie.
Well, yeah, Bruce for sure. Chuck Miller, of course.
Chuck Miller, another big Honda guy.
Yep. And he was with Yamaha with us at the beginning too. Mitch was a little older than us, but then he got hurt, unfortunately.
Peyton?
Mitch Peyton and Mitch Mays.
Oh, Mitch Mays.
So Mitch Peyton's younger, and he was up and coming, right? He was actually the race when he got hurt. I won the race overall. He was on I believe a 125, but so I was obviously all happy coming to the finish line, and everybody has all these sad face, like, what's going on? They said Mitch crashed. So
Yeah, he said you guys were together that whole week prior.
Yeah, we went to the race together, actually. Yeah. Yeah, such a bummer.
So he did tell me a story. He said he won the Baja 577 on a 125. And he had a bunch of stories just of you two kind of, traveling together or whatever. And then he goes, oh, yeah, we used to call him Lovable Larry. Ask him about that. He goes, no, don't ask him about that. I'm like, okay.
That was your nickname. Doesn't recall anything there.
That's funny. So your first Baja 500 was 72, right? And you won the 125 class.
Yep, 72 with Mitch Mays.
That was with Mitch Mays.
That was with Mitch Mays.
And how was that had to have been a huge accomplishment for you? I mean,
oh, for sure.
Because
that was my first real big race,
Yeah.
Doing District 37. I can remember I was number 189, and then I was number 29, and then I was number 4, and then I was number 2, and then I was number 1.
Yeah.
Right. So it was just like
cool progression.
Just that progression in District 37. That was it. Yeah. Every weekend. I mean, 40 some weekends a year, it was just going to the desert and ride. And
where did Baja rank? Back then and even now, I'd be curious to hear what you think. Like in terms of, like right now, GNCC is probably the premier off-road series.
Yes.
And then you have NGPC and Hare Scrambles and Hare and Hound and Enduro Cross now. And then Baja's kind of its own thing. It doesn't, when you talk off-road, it's like its own thing, right?
Yeah. And unfortunately, I think it's lost a little bit of its zap. It's when Kawasaki pulled out of it, Husqvarna was strong in it for many, many years, Honda, of course. And then when Kawasaki stepped in, I introduced that to Mark Johnson, and that was in 1987. And then, Team Green just went with it, right? For all those many years with the off-road program. But in recent years, there's really not a big, Honda still somewhat involved, but it just doesn't get the
manufacturer support.
The manufacturer support and the exposure, and it's just, like for me, it was a big deal. I could have a shitty year and win the 1,000 and
fixed everything.
It sort of fixed everything, right? Yeah, and it just doesn't seem to have quite that big a hit like it used to, unfortunately. But like you said, the GNCC, I raced a lot of GNCCs, and it's spectator friendly, it's coverage friendly,
right.
And the sponsors love it, and it's huge numbers.
Yeah.
So
back then, Baja was a little more prestigious, would you say?
I think it was
70s, 80s,
yes,
even 90s.
Yes, for sure.
And what was it about Baja that kept you coming back? Like I've asked Cameron Steele this and Johnny Campbell, you guys just, it's like it calls to you guys,
I can hear it in the background. I'm leaving for Mexico Friday. It is, it's an amazing country, and the race, it's the ultimate test of man and machine, right? I mean, it's the miles that you cover, and just the versatility of it. It's just, you never figure it out, right? It's super difficult.
Really, after all these years, it's still the same challenge that is
absolutely. And even for me in the trucks, it's a direct crossover. Keeping it together, you don't overshoot corners at 80, 90 miles an hour, right? On a bike, you die.
Yeah, not many times anyway.
Yeah, in a car, you rip a wheel off, but you don't die. But yeah, the challenge of being precise, making race decisions, that's obviously that comes with experience, but it's just, it calls for you. It's awesome. It's exciting.
Yeah. You guys and I know Johnny and Cameron Steele do, like, they have charities down there. They're really involved in the communities, and they just can't get enough of it. They're both like, you got to come with us. And I look at it and I'm like, I don't know, man. Mexico sounds sketchy. I don't want to get my head cut off down there. Right?
Yeah.
And they go, it's not like that.
It's not like that. And I cross the border regularly. We live, my wife, excuse me, my wife's from Mexicali.
Okay.
We have family in Mexicali. We were just there over the weekend. So it's I go to like go pre-run by myself, cross the border, go head south, pre-run 3 or 4 days
By yourself?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I get down there and I meet people, and
Okay.
we're not by myself, but I'll drive down there by myself. I'll cross the border by myself.
Yeah.
It's not that big a deal.
It's almost, people will tell you stories and make it probably sound worse than it is. But that having said that, Johnny had a story where he got held up at gunpoint.
Yeah, he did years ago. That was
Have you ever had a moment like that?
No, I haven't. I'm gonna knock on wood. Yeah, there's been some bad stories over the years.
Yeah.
But you go to certain parts of LA.
Yeah, well,
You know what I
San
mean?
Bernardino now.
Yeah.
Go back to your home.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Hometown.
I probably wouldn't go there by myself at a certain time of day. So, but yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's, bad things happen wherever you go.
Yeah.
But they're big race fans down there. They really are. They're. I go to gas stations or a market or and get recognized a lot. It's awesome. Big fans, big race fans.
That's cool. Is there something from that 72, that first win that you remember, like kind of like that story you were telling me, like I passing him, but something like that from that first win that you think about? Yeah,
the first one. I honestly, I don't really remember much of that first race.
Is that right?
So in 72, this is pretty crazy. So when it left Ensenada, the pavement ended at Camalou, which was 90 miles. So the first 90 miles of the race was on pavement, just on a 125.
Oh my gosh.
Just me. I'm 15 years old, and I don't barely know where I'm going. I don't even think we pre-ran back in those days. So, but there was like one road. Once the pavement ended, is like
this is the way we go.
You just keep going south.
How do you not blow it up? I mean, do you have to just throttle back and find like a sweet spot?
Yeah, back then you could blow up any of those bikes and at will.
Yeah.
You just we weren't smart enough to know anything about aviation fuel or race gas. And yeah, they would seize regularly.
Was there any tricks like, I don't know, any tricks to richen it up when you're on those roads? Or?
Just keep breathing. It was the biggest thing. I even that Husky days, you could seize those things really easy.
Yeah. Well, especially you get into the dust, the silt beds and that, doesn't take much.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And speed. This is something I always ask guys that specialize in this, how did you get to be so okay with going so fast across terrain? Like for me, even going out and riding in the desert with buddies, when we start getting going, I'm like, I just roll off. I'm like, dude, I don't know what's coming up.
Yeah.
I'm not okay with, like not knowing what's in front of me.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys just seem to be like, I don't know, you can look ahead further, you can read it better.
It is. It's looking ahead, trying to read the terrain. I mean, you can't take anything for granted, obviously, but you get more comfortable with that with just time, practice, seat time. Weekend after weekend, you're doing it. You got to look ahead.
Yeah.
You got to be on your toes. You got to be ready for the unexpected, of course.
Do you feel like your brain's processing speed too? That's something you can train. Like I think about IndyCar racers.
Yes.
Let's say. Probably the first time they go out and do 200, they're like, wow.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you just jumped in a car and went and did that, you'd almost freak out.
Yeah.
But you kind of.
I think
that's the same thing.
I think so, for sure. Yeah.
So 100 to you feels like 200 to me right now if we went out.
Yes, exactly. I think you just start settling in, and it all just slows down for you.
Yeah, that's cool. I just don't understand it because
I can relate to it too, even now in the trucks, because I still ride a lot, right? And then we're testing tomorrow, and almost every time I get back in the trucks, I have to recalibrate my thought process. I look at the bumps, I look at the size of the rocks, and it's like, oh yeah, I can go faster. I can hit that. It's amazing how you have to just readjust, look farther ahead, and it's pretty amazing.
I guess you're going much faster in those than you can on a bike. Huh?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, our truck will do this last San Felipe, we were on the lake bed doing 138 miles an hour or something.
Jeez.
I mean, that's on a lake bed, but on a shitty gravelly road, you can do 110, 120, no problem.
Ugh. Does it? I mean, is it ever? It's got to feel kind of loose.
Oh yeah,
right?
no, it'll kick out on you at over 100, and but the thing is, you don't overreact. You're just like, oh yeah, it kicked out.
Subtle
on you.
inputs,
You just subtle inputs, and oh yeah, I'm doing 120.
Oh, look at that, I'm going sideways. Yeah, let's bring that back.
Yeah, bring that back. So
you guys are nuts. So in District 37, you earned the #1 plate from 73 to 76. You were kind of crushing it back then.
Well, yeah. So the first 2 years on the #1 plate was the 100cc class, and then I moved up to the 250 class, and then the following year I moved up to the open class, and I was on Husqvarna then. So yeah, those 4 years, that's when things really started pretty much clicking for me. I got invited to go to a 24-hour team race in France. I did a couple of those. So that's when things started, got invited to start doing some enduros. I did, Dick Burleson back in the day, right? He was Husqvarna's #1 man. So I learned a lot from him, got to ride with him, did some enduros. And then I got introduced to the 6 days. We had qualifiers in the States to qualify to be part of the 6-day team. So being the Southern California desert guy, I don't think anybody really expected me to do quite well in the woods or, different muddy conditions. But much to their surprise, I pretty much kicked ass.
Is that right?
So yeah, I did good, and I wrote a lot of my training, I contributed to Ritchie Canyon.
Oh,
I
really?
rode in Ritchie Canyon for a lot of years, and it was just really narrow trails, right?
Yeah.
All those ridges
Yeah.
and canyons. So up and down hills. So for me, just because there was trees, it didn't really, you still had to be precise.
But the terrain is, I'm just thinking GNCC. I haven't been to Europe and done enduro stuff, but it's like roots and rocks and mud and
there was definitely more to learn. I mean, the roots for sure, and Ohio. There's places like Georgia, that red clay, like
Alabama.
Horrible. I mean, one of the hardest races I ever did was in Ohio. There was only 13 finishers, and out of a 1-day enduro, I mean, it was a couple hundred guys start, right?
Jeez.
13 finishers, and I think I was 13th, maybe 12th. I mean, it was super, super hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it rained. The water was waist deep in river crossings, and just that slick mud. It was just like, it was miserable.
Yeah. Well, and I find it really fascinating when I see a guy from the West go east and do well, and vice versa, because it's two different worlds.
It is, and I really was proud of myself, put a lot of pride into it. Even when later years, I moved up to Hesperia and trained, and Ty Davis came after me, but from motocross, but he came into the off-road. This is in the Kawasaki days now. But so all of our training up there, because we were still doing the Hare and Hounds, but then the next weekend we're doing a GNCC or a national enduro, and then the following weekend we're doing Baja, and then the weekend after that we're going back to a GNCC.
Yeah.
So it was like, for me, to be that versatile, that was like that was the best thing for me, to be able to come from Southern Cal, and Ty and I both did quite well with those under those conditions. For me going to the 6 days, I got 10 gold medals twice, 2 or 3 times I was top American. I got 10 golds, 2 silver, and 1 bronze. So I finished all 13 of them. But yeah, I just really worked at, always rode a lot of moto just for practice, for fun. Just really worked on technique and cornering. And, so then when I got introduced to those other harder conditions, things that we couldn't practice here, there was just a lot of thought into it, like you said, the roots and the rocks, and, obviously suspension, motor, all that is just, such a big part of it, right?
Yeah.
So as you know, so that was constantly, I was really hands-on myself. I mean, digging into shocks.
Oh, really?
Making valving change, making fork changes. We would pretty much do that all week, like even Ty and I together. We would, and then get ready, knowing that we're going to, say, Utah or someplace, right? That we knew it was going to be super rocky. So that week we would work on like a good rock setting, you know? So a lot of,
Very analytical and focusing on those details to be just right.
Yeah, for sure. And I was always, even my dad taught me, wrenching and working on my bike and prepping. And so I've always been really hands-on and involved with that. I think it's really important to, just, you become one with the bike kind of thing.
Well, and you understand the cool thing about that, and I don't think that happens too much anymore.
It doesn't. I don't think it does.
There is more manufacturer support, and so the factories have a suspension technician probably helping, right? Where you guys were pulling it apart, you had a better understanding of how it worked. And hey, my bike was doing this. I bet if I went in, how to change a valving stack, right?
And we got to work with some really great people, like Bones from Pro Circuit, for example. So it sort of went both ways. Obviously we're relying on their expertise too, but then our feedback and our, well, what if we tried this, and so you never have it figured out. That's the thing. It's sort of a constant, even to this day, right?
Well, every track is a little bit different, especially in off-road, because like you said, you might be averaging 60, 70 miles an hour out here. You go to a race on the East, you're averaging 20. I don't know. It's way slower. And you're climbing up over.
It's apples and oranges for sure.
Well, but I would say, because a guy just did that, Dante Oliveira, he just went over and won a GNCC, and he's killing out here on the West. And I was like, who else has really done that? I mean, yourself, Ty, Rodney Smith, maybe. I was trying to think of who.
Rodney did really well. Taylor Roberts is amazing. Kurt Caselli was amazing.
Caselli,
yeah.
But it's very few people.
It's very few.
Yeah.
It's and there's a short list for sure.
Yeah. And same thing goes for those guys coming out here. I think they probably get here and go, wait, we're going how fast? I have to say, I'm maybe a little biased, that I think the people that we just mentioned, there's been a lot of good guys from the East come out West, and they don't stand a chance. No.
They don't do good. They don't do good at all.
Yeah, no.
Because they're not used to the speeds.
Both ways. That's what I'm saying. It's two different sports almost. And so when I see a guy cross over and do well, I'm like, man, that's impressive.
Because even back in the day, like Scott Summers, he was an amazing rider, right? He muscled that big XR around, but he'd come out West and try something, and it wasn't his cup of tea.
No. I mean, it's very hard to be that versatile.
Yeah.
Okay, so from 75 to 79, you rode for Husky?
Yep.
And how did that come about? You were Harley prior to that, right?
Yeah. So, Mitch Mays moved on to bigger bikes and with Husqvarna. So it was just an opportunity. And I don't remember how I got the call. It was way before cell phone days.
Yeah. Rotary phones, man.
But I got that opportunity and I went with it for sure. It was, again, looking at, like Malcolm Smith, right? Mm-hmm. Husqvarna, Jane Roberts, Husqvarna. It's like,
and they were the bikes.
That was the bike. Yeah. So I got that opportunity, and like I say, Mitch and I ended up winning the Baja 1000 together in 76. So I had some really good years with them. My first 6 days with them, I think, was 78. So clear up to 1980 that's when Yamaha, Bill Bell was involved with the program.
Mike Bell's dad?
Mike Bell's dad, yeah. So they came up with a budget, and they wanted to, dethrone Husqvarna, basically, right? So they hired me, Jack Johnson from Las Vegas. Jack and I just won the 1,000 together in 79. So I brought him with me, basically.
Yeah.
They go, who do you want? And I go, I want Jack. So, and that's when Ogilvy and Chuck Miller. So Yamaha really had those like 3 years. They really put a big effort in.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that Jack Johnson. Mitch mentioned him as well, and I was like, the singer?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been somebody different.
Yeah. Now, Jack from Las Vegas, Scott Harden.
Scott Harden,
Yeah, they're both. They were both. I don't know the district up there, but the Vegas area.
Yeah, they were the guys.
They were the guys.
I think just looking through your whole thing, and we just have been talking about this a bit, that impresses me most about you is your versatility. High speed desert stuff. And I don't even know, was there GNCCs back when you were racing, or was it just called National Enduro?
Well, they had the Hare scrambles. I don't even know what they call them, tell you the truth. I forgot.
But same type of racing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Same.
And you could bounce around and win Baja, then go win an Enduro, and then go do a 6 days. You were, you could do it all, which is very, very, and then you jumped into trucks and did the same thing. So, what else have you done? Like, Mitch said you maybe did some flat track too with Fishback. Is it
a Speedway one year?
Oh, Speedway.
Yeah, the Speedway. Growing up in the Bloomington, Fontana area, was good friends with Fishback. Still no Jim. But yeah, I used to go to the races with him and just watch. And then I got the opportunity to ride one season. I rode second division. I wasn't very good.
Is that sketchy?
Yeah, it's just different. Yeah, just different. Yeah, I crashed a lot. I wasn't very good.
Well, the crashing seems like the hard part because that dirt's so sticky and hard.
Yeah, it's pretty.
A high side to put you right in the hospital.
You could get hurt pretty easy. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I grew up. I was a big fan of flat track. So my father moved out from Minnesota, and mother, and his to live the California dream, right? And he wanted to race flat track at Ascot. So that was one of the reasons. Dale Marski, Dale's Modern Cycle in San Bernardino.
Okay.
It's it was that. It's still a Yamaha shop there, but so he moved out with Dale, and my mother and father moved from Minnesota. So it was all about racing flat track. So as a kid, I was following, I don't know why, but Sammy Tanner was like my guy.
Okay.
So I would cut out of Cycle News any picture of Sammy Tanner, right? And later years, I actually got to meet him, and I told him I did that. It was pretty funny because he was, I don't know if he still is, involved with Rye Helmets.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but so I was just a big fan of flat track, right? Yeah. And my dad, that's where it all started for us. And then we started going to the desert and, off-road riding. But that's really what drew me to motorcycles.
That's cool. That's really cool. Ever done any, so you did National Enduro, Grand Prix, Baja, Hare and Hound, ISDE, Rally, which we'll get into a little bit. Am I missing anything? Did you race a lot of moto? I know you said you rode a lot.
So yeah, just locally,
okay.
Just for practice, Glen Helen, Rawhide Cycle Park back in the day.
I remember hearing of it. I never got to ride there yet.
What was the track? By De Anza. Yeah. So yeah, just for practice, just for training and fun. But yeah, the Grand Prix and all the local stuff, that's for me, I think that's what helped me when I did start to make a transition into the enduros and more technical stuff. It wasn't just a desert, just a desert guy,
Yeah.
Even when I was doing really well in the desert across the big valleys, that was never my strong area.
Oh,
that's where the Ted Honeycutts and the Paul Krauses and the Danny Hamills would, they'd leave me in the dust. But as soon as we got back into the hills and, made it across the valley, I would just try to hold my own. And then once we got back into the hills and the canyons and the more technical stuff, then I could do my stuff.
Did you ever do any hill climbing?
I got invited. It was in Montana, I think it was.
Yeah, the Widowmaker.
Didn't do Widowmaker.
Oh, okay.
But it was. I don't remember where we were. Ty and I got invited. We did a hill climb. They had bikes for us. It was strange. The long swing arm, so everything was slow motion. But yeah, that was just a one-time deal.
I did a couple of them. One of them was with Kurt Caselli at Glen Helen. I did one up in Central Cal, Carnegie. You know,
Oh,
that
yeah,
big,
yeah. Yeah.
OHV area.
Yep.
And then I did another one at Glen Helen with Kurt.
Yeah.
And we had a blast.
Yeah.
Just super, like you said, super
Yeah.
odd, but
Yeah.
really, really fun. And that group of people is just so laid back.
You know, the event was really fun. And anywhere in the pits, you know, you could, you'd hear the bike rev up, you just look up.
Yeah.
and then you got to watch the outcome.
Well, I figured you spent enough time in Retchie Canyon. I mean, when it rained, for me, when I moved out here, that was my favorite thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Just go climb hills and ride the trails, and that the spines. I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
There's one we had called Trail of Death.
Oh yeah. No,
And if you went off the edge, you're in trouble.
I made a lot of trails out there, and yeah,
That's
some
fun.
good stuff for sure out there.
Okay, so what's your favorite type of riding and racing? Is Baja kind of it for you?
Not really. So, I've gotten asked this a lot because growing up in Southern California, racing deserts where it all started, but the desert racing really wasn't really my favorite, because of the speeds, because of the dust, because of, if you make a mistake, it just hurts. So I honestly, I really started and put more focus on my riding and training in the more technical kind of stuff. So like Ducati Enduro, for example, living up in Hesperia was a lot like Ducati, right?
Okay.
Just real tight trails and the Manzanita bushes. And so that kind of terrain was more for like enduros and hare scrambles, and which led more to back east kind of stuff.
Okay.
So typically not as dusty, the speeds aren't as low. And so I just put more pride into that, succeeding in that kind of environment, right?
Yeah.
That kind of race. So I just really preferred that over a desert race. So for me to go ride gnarly single track, not gnarly, not like the crazy enduro
Not like
stuff.
hard enduro. But
Not like hard
Yeah.
enduro. I have too short of legs. I have short
You and
leg.
me both.
I have short leg syndrome. So I'm glad there wasn't hard enduro back in my time.
Yeah. I have the same problem, same syndrome. Still have not found a cure.
Yes, but yeah. So for me, my favorite, like Ducati over the years, the Ducati Enduro was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Because it was just it was long, it was difficult, but I've often looked at our sport as, motos as a sprinter, like a track and field, right? They're the sprinter, and off-road guys are the marathon runners. So the longer the race, more conditioning, more,
Mental focus for a long period of time.
everything. Yeah. So, some of these races, like even the GNCCs, they're 3 hours plus, 3.5 hours. Some of the enduros, like even though there's some breaks, some resets and intermissions, but you're like 6-7 hours, you're riding your dirt bike.
I did one GNCC. One. And that was good.
You got a taste of it.
Yeah. Did you ever do the Blackwater?
I did Blackwater. I did.
Was that as wild as it sounds and seems?
It's absolutely everything that you've seen or read about and watched. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah. So I was actually leading, and I came to this, I forgot what they called it, but it was just that it's like moss on top of the water, right?
Okay.
So, and Coombs was even showing me this, even like they took me out riding, and they just like, don't break through the surface. Like you're like on this cushion, right? Like, what the heck? And it was just like a crust of this moss, but if you broke through the surface, it's just like,
you sank.
It's just mud, right? And so the first lap, it's a football field and it's just green, right? And you can stay on top of it and just moto right across it. You come around the second lap and it's just, there's no more green. Like, what do you do? There's 30 people stuck. And so you're cross-riding it the best you could, looking for anything that's green, right? If it's green, that means it hasn't been churned up yet.
Yeah.
So it's some kind of traction. It was wild. It was wild. I went over the bars, the classic Blackwater, just whoa, just bog. And then finally the front end dropped and just right over the bars. Before I even knew what was up or down, they call them mud fleas. The spectators are amazing. They're grabbing the bike, dragging me. Come on, buddy. I was leading. And while all this is happening so fast, I hear, these guys going by, and like, they're not, and I'm on the course and there's people on both sides. You're supposed to go across this, but of course
they're way off.
They're just around the people, and they knew this, they knew that was not the place to go. Yeah. And I didn't know, but no, it's an amazing event, or it was for sure.
All right. Seat concepts, hot seat question. Is there really a pretty girl in the back, topless, helping you clean your goggles and give you something to drink? I saw pictures of this.
No.
You didn't bump into this?
No.
It's like Bigfoot. All right.
Yeah. Wasn't me.
What about there was a hill too. It's like a famous photo, not even a big hill, but it was muddy and there'd be people.
At Blackwater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have any trouble with that or moments like that?
It wasn't that bad for us on a bike.
Okay.
But yeah, it was what happens is on that particular hill, all the water gets drug up,
right,
and it gets slipperier and slipperier. But yeah, there was typically, you could pick a good line and hit it. But what happened? The people, it'd barely be any water, right? And there'd be so many people. They would do it on purpose too. They would dam up the water would dam up. Oh. So it used to be just like an inch deep of water, like nothing.
But they wanted to see
come race day, now it's like 1.5 feet of water. Mm. So you're dragging a lot more water up on the hill. It made it super wet, super slippery. So
well, spectators love it.
Yeah, no, the mud fleas.
The mud fleas. As you kind of got into the meat of your career there, who would you say were your biggest rivals?
Oh boy. Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot over the years. I mean, it changed a little bit, from different eras, but for sure, like Ty Davis, Danny Hamill. We had quite a few years of run there where, we were. One of us three were going to win the race, kind of thing, So they were always some top runners I had a battle against. It sort of depend on the race too, like a national Hare and Hound. You had guys like Dan Smith, for example. He was really tough, but he wasn't much of an enduro technical kind of guy. He was the desert guy. Oh, gotcha. So in the Hare and Hound series.
Yeah, I suppose it was different for every.
Yeah. So Dan was a tough guy. He was tough. Paul Krause, same thing. Pretty versatile, but is definitely stronger in the desert. Ted Honeycutt, stronger in the desert. Johnny Campbell came into the scene at the beginning of his career, was towards the end of my career. So he was never really.
You didn't overlap too much.
Wasn't much of a threat. But yeah, there was, then when you go back east, I can't even think of their names, but there was, I wasn't a top guy, so you had the Randy Hawkins and the Rodney,
right?
Yeah. And Aaron's dad. Yeah. And, Scott Summers and, there was guys that like, man, these guys are really fast.
Yeah. Cool. And was there anyone to race that you didn't like racing against? Anyone that raced dirty or just that you didn't like?
Yeah. Right off the top of my head, I can't really think of anybody.
Okay. The off-road community is pretty cool.
Yeah. And and I know he's looking down on us right now, but Al Baker, when he moved over on me, I think that was a cheap shot, right? But at the time, I didn't know it was he was trying to be dirty, but I don't hold it against
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
But no, I can't think of anybody that was really, that was on my list,
Okay.
on a regular basis.
Tell me about how you kind of mentioned a little bit, but you rode for Yamaha in what, 80 through 82 or 82?
80, 81, 82.
Okay.
Yeah.
How were those years? And you just said Yamaha was making a push, wanted to kind of burst into that. And so it sounds like they did a pretty good job.
Yeah. Those 3 years was awesome. I mean, and unfortunately, they brought on a bunch of us. We had Rick Munyon, John Farrow, Chuck Miller, Bruce Ogilvy. Fishback was even did 6 days with us. So they were, it was 3 really good years. The 4th year, they said sorry, and it was done, right? But I don't know if they just felt bad for me, but I remember talking to Kenny Clark at the time and just like begging, like, come on, let's keep it going at least one more year, So they gave me bikes and parts and a little bit of money for the 4th year, but it was just me. I just did whatever I could do locally, and it wasn't a big. Those 3 years at Yamaha, we would do 6 days. We were doing national enduros. Actually, Ron Heben was my mechanic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Slicer.
Yeah. So I was his first rider. He moved out west, and so yeah, Yamaha. Those 3 years was big.
Yeah. Even in motocross, they made a big push those years.
Yep.
But it's interesting to see. I will say one thing about motocross, all the manufacturers have, well, I guess except Suzuki lately, but they've all kind of stayed in it, where if you look at off-road, like you said, there was a period where Husky had a big push, then Yamaha made a big push, then Cowie did, then Honda did. Now
even Suzuki had quite a few years.
Did they?
Yeah, with Steve Hatch and Rodney Smith.
Yeah. Kudrowski. And
Ryan Hughes was...
but like off-road and road racing both, you see the manufacturers kind of ebb and flow. They come in, they go out. They come in, they go out. And I wonder why that is. Is that just what the market's doing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know. And it seems like maybe there's different management comes in. Yeah. Upper management comes in, and their focus is.
They don't like off-roads. Now we're going to.
They don't think it's that important. We're going to put more money over here. I mean, I've been told that. Mark Johnson was our team Green manager for years, and I know he was always answering to different people upstairs, and
it's got to be frustrating for a guy like Mark, right?
Yeah. He always found a way to get his way. It seemed like.
Yeah.
Love the guy.
He's a good businessman.
Yeah.
I sweet talked him. Yeah. What would you say were your best years? Husky, Yamaha, Cowie.
Well,
all good for different reasons.
Well, they definitely all had some pretty high moments, but honestly, the Kawasaki years were pretty amazing. I'd already established myself, and then it sort of petered off a little bit when Husqvarna got bought by Cagiva, and it just was never the same, right, for a lot of years. So when I went to Mark Johnson, and he knew nothing about off-road, and he gave me a bike and $1,000 worth of parts, and I just was doing local stuff, and then it was like, hey, we need to do the Baja 500, and he goes, what? So we went down there with a box fan and some pickup trucks, and no one knew anything. And Ted Honeycutt was a local desert racer, so him and I ended up winning the race, and that was it. Mark Johnson was hooked. He was hooked. Uh-huh. He was hooked, and then from that point on, we Team Green, it just took off as far as the off-road program.
And what years would that have been?
That was 87.
Okay.
So
and the Team Green program during that window, 85, 6, 7, it was huge.
Oh yeah.
Moto, off-road, everything. Yeah. They really were going hard.
Exactly. So then in 87, when we started the off-road division of it, clear up to 94, was my last like official year. I sort of stepped down, but I was still involved with the program. And they were really doing a lot with the works races. They had some really good riders. Well, Ty still was with them, and Taylor Roberts and Justin Soleil and Dester Abbott.
Yeah.
They were still doing really, really well. So back to to answer your question, for me, those Kawasaki years it was towards the end of my career, but it was like another shot in the arm, kind of, it was just another boost.
Yeah. And
we just took it to the next level.
Yeah.
And we just did some amazing races. I did Pikes Peak one year. I won the 500cc class with them. And, the 6 days, of course. One year I rode an 80. We built, so in Europe, the 80cc motorcycle is a full-size bike.
What?
And I don't think they have it in the 6 days anymore, but forever, it's a full-size bike, 18-inch rear wheel, 21-inch front. But
were they sticking it in like a 125 chassis?
Yeah, we just took a KX80 motor and put it on a 125 chassis. So I tested.
Is that pretty fun?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I ended up third in class. I got a gold medal and won the final moto. It was badass. Huh. It was an amazing experience. So Mark Johnson again, James DeGain, part of the Team Green. We all had our finger in it in the project, but like going to Pikes Peak, doing 6 days on an 80, winning the 1,000, just all these different things that winning national enduros, winning national hare scrambles. I did all those with Mark and the Team Green guys. So, those were definitely the
highlight.
The highlight.
I mean, that's how I remember. When I hear your name, I just think of you on a Cowie.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if that was because I was too young to remember the Harley days and even the Husqvarna days. I remember seeing photos of you, but I just always picture you on a Cowie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we made a pretty big impact for sure. So.
Tell me about, you were teammates with Danny Hamill. And I met him just briefly, kind of out with Bones one day testing at Glen Helen.
Yep.
Seemed like a super nice guy, but man, the people that really knew him, they just gush about what a great human he was.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about him, and then his passing in Baja. Did that affect you at all?
Yes, of course. So I knew you were going to talk to me about this, and now you're going to get me all emotional. So I'll have to take a couple big breaths and take
That's
a break
okay.
here.
I get it. He was just like Kurt. He was like bigger than the sport almost.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so hard to talk about it. And he was an amazing kid, and rode a dirt bike. He was big and strong, but at the same time, he was just light on the bike too. He was amazing. And to train with him and ride with him, team up with him, was, my last 1,000 I won overall on a bike was, I have to think here, 94. And Ty Davis and Danny were my partners. And then the very next year in June is when he died. So that's when I'd stepped down. It was that 94,000. I was like, that was my 10th overall win on a bike and in the Baja 1000. So I told Mark Johnson, that's a nice round number,
Yeah.
and let's just, we had all these young riders, talent that we're working with, and we're in good hands. We're going to win races and, keep doing our job. And, unfortunately for Danny, the 500, the very next June, a car just pulled in front of him. It was hard for all of us. And honestly, that the reason I stepped down was I knew it's a little bit Russian roulette. I mean, I love Baja, but any desert racing. You just don't know. You know, there could be a rancher, there could be cattle, you know, any kind of livestock. And unfortunately, you know, Kurt Caselli is another story, you know, that was animal related. Danny happened to be in the middle of town, you know, just, I mean, they're wonderful race fans, but you know, it's just pretty crazy. You know, you're just going full tilt. Nowadays it's different. Now we have speed zones. Back then there was no limitation. It was as fast as you wanted to go through anywhere, down the highway, through towns. You know, nowadays they give us, it's all speed zones, they call it. So we're only doing 35 miles an hour, maybe 60, depending on the section of highway. So where Danny was, you know, he's doing 100, but it's just solid people and cars, and you know, there's no control of.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that left a not only for myself, but I knew I stepped down basically because of that. I knew that could happen. That probably should have been me on the bike that morning if I wouldn't have retired, right? And
Jeez, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, and Team Green and Mark Johnson, we all agreed that it just wasn't worth it. You know, as much as success that we had, that we're just putting these riders at risk, and that's why I stepped down. That's why I had my focus, my eyes. I wanted to go into a four-wheel. I wanted to, you know, the old saying, with age comes a cage. But, you know, I just knew that I wanted to continue racing, but just, you know,
safer somehow.
Yeah, just a little bit different. So it did affect Kawasaki's program, you know, where they decided to spend their money, and let's face it, to go down to a race like that is a huge undertaking, right? And they could take that same amount of money and go to several GNCCs, right, and probably get more bang for their buck. So, but yeah, I mean, Danny's story is horrible, and miss him. It's hard to believe it's been, that was 1995. So it's been that long.
Well, I'll never forget it, because it was the week before the Vegas Supercross, and they brought all the factory cow guys. I was riding for Mitch at the time, and we all brought our bikes out on, I don't know if you remember this, but out onto the start straight in a missing man formation, and had a big kind of ceremony for him. And it was, like I said, I didn't know him that well, but it was heavy for me.
Yeah.
And just because I saw how it impacted.
Yeah. I mean, he, like you say, he had a huge impact in a short period of time. He really touched a lot of people, you know, and he not only just his riding skills, but just how his mannerism and everything about him. You just love the kid. So yeah, I know Mitch, you know, Mitch worked with him a lot, and yeah, just,
well, it's something that, you know, and I know I talked to you about kind of the dangers of Mexico that are probably beat into my head, but that race in particular, you know, when you start looking at the guys we've lost, and then even like Cade Walker last year, I don't know if you're familiar with what happened to him. It's like, man, it's just kind of Wild West down there. There isn't a really good safety program put into place when a guy goes down face first into a silt bed and lays there for almost an hour.
Yeah, it's tough.
That's the stuff I don't like.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And
and we all know that going into it. It's just, you know, you're out in the middle of the desert, and if you're really banged up, you're probably not going to get help right away.
Yeah,
you know, it's. I did Dakar one time.
It's no different, probably, huh? I mean,
they pretty much lose someone every year, you know, and it's.
But they do have like GPS trackers on everybody, and they will get a helicopter coming immediately if they sense a problem, right? They don't have that in Baja. It's like you've got to hear it from somebody.
Score's gotten a lot better with that. You know, everybody's carrying
a beacon or something.
A beacon, a Stella, and it's way, way better. We have helicopters in the air, and it is definitely better.
Okay.
Yeah, but Dakar, you know, is such a you're covering so much more terrain. You know, it's spread out.
Heavier bike too.
Yeah. It was an amazing experience for me. I got to do it in 2004, It was a factory KTM program, and Brett Leaf was my mechanic actually, and it was an awesome experience. And but that year we lost. I forgot who. The next year they lost Mione. Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's brutal.
Yeah. It's pretty brutal. But yeah, but on a positive note, let's I mean, like I say, we all know motorsports is dangerous or can be dangerous. I mean, accidents unfortunately happen. So it's been good to me.
Yeah. No, and I didn't mean to bum you out.
Yeah,
there.
no, I'm not bummed out.
I know
I'm not bummed out.
I know that's hard, but
yeah, it is. It's
being teammates with him, like I said.
And Kurt, I mean, God, I remember Kurt being knee high to me, and had just so proud of him, how he, again, he was a Southern California desert guy, from Palmdale, and his talent on a motorcycle, just went way beyond my capabilities. I mean, he was phenomenal on a bike. And, so yeah, just,
and I think a lot like Danny, his personality and his demeanor raised him up to another level.
Yeah.
He was just the nicest guy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
The Alligator Enduro, you won that also.
I did win.
This is Florida?
That's in Florida.
Tell me about that one, because I remember hearing about it, but it hasn't run for a long time, right?
Well, I don't know if they still. Oh, it's just swampy.
Was it Palatka, Florida, or was that the GN? Because the GNCC I race was in Palatka, Florida.
Yeah, I don't remember where.
Okay.
I don't remember where we were.
Okay.
But it was just swampy.
Yeah. So the one I did, I don't know if this is what you mean, but like I was in a forest, thin forest.
Yeah.
But there was like 4 to 6 inches of water all over the floor.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
Where the hell? I feel like I'm on another planet.
Yeah, pretty much. Most of it was underwater, and really that black sand, mucky, real sandy, and So I don't know. I won it. It was pretty funny, actually. I made a bet with Mark Johnson. I wanted this leather jacket, and it was like a bomber jacket,
RS Taichi one?
I don't remember who. I don't remember, because it's bike week, right?
Yeah.
So it's all the bikers and leather, and like he goes, "You win the Alligator Enduro, I'll buy you a jacket." So that was my he dangled that carrot in front of me.
That's all it took.
And I won it, and I got the leather jacket. So,
oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And that was with Cowie then?
Yeah, that was all Kawasaki. Yeah.
Takati Enduro. You talked a little bit about this. You were a multi-time winner of that event. Tell me a little bit about that and kind of your experiences there.
Yeah, so a lot of the Los Ancianos, the club members, they're from San Diego for the most part. A lot of the original club members were involved with the Husqvarna days. They were part of the pit crew, and Niles Usry worked at Husky. He was like one of the bike builders, mechanics that were involved with that program. So,
and where is Takati? Just is it on the Baja Peninsula, or no? It's over.
It's just south of. Like you'd cross it from El Cajon, you just go straight south.
Okay.
So it's between Tijuana and Mexicali.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's all high desert.
And that's really, pretty rocky.
Really rocky. Yeah. Good hard enduro kind of terrain.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Really good. That's what I was saying earlier, like riding in Hesperia, training and practicing was
real similar. Yeah.
That was very similar. That was Ducati training.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a big history with the club members, know a lot of them. And that event has been prestigious over the years. Even, guys like Kevin Hines and Randy Hawkins and, Rodney Smith. There would be a lot of guys that would come from back east or up north that would come down for the Ducati Enduro because it was known to be somewhat of an ass kicker. And I think I've won it like 5 or 6 times. So it was good to me.
One of your favorites, probably.
Yeah, for sure. It was because again, it was one of those events. It still is. Some years are easier than others, but it's just the ultimate test. It's really technical terrain. It's long, so it just really tests your mental and physical side of it. So
how many hours was that one?
Oh, they drag it out all day. I mean, you start early in the morning, like 7 or 7:30 is like first bike off. 4 bikes every minute. But yeah, you wouldn't be done. I mean, you'd get a break. Like it's a 3-loop event basically. So they might give you a 40-minute break, like a pit stop, and then so you get a chance to regroup and fuel and get ready for the next loop, and then have another break. And then the third loop's usually the butt kicker. That's the butt kicker, yeah.
And all your times are added up for it. Is that?
Yeah.
Sounds like fun, sort of.
It is fun. And we've had some really tough years. I remember one year I was on the same minute. Well, you can sign up as a team also, so they give a team trophy. So I was Ty, myself, Kellen Walsh. I forgot who the other rider was, but I think it was the third loop. It was rainy and cold, and it was tough, and there were bottlenecks, and I came up on Ty at the beginning. He just disappeared on me. This I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, 10 years ago. So there's no way I can keep up with the top guys, but I'm steady Eddie. And I came up onto him and, Ty, what's up? And I thought he broke down or something. He goes, I'm spent. I'm done. I mean, he bonked.
Oh, just bonked.
He bonked. I was like, wow. Okay, dude, bye. So, to have someone like Ty Davis, like throw in the towel in the middle of the loop,
it's pretty tough.
I think it tells you it was pretty tough.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, guys. This is your Troy Lee Designs timeout. We'll be right back to finish up with more Larry Rosler. Stay tuned. There's a new product on the market that's going to help you with your riding and racing, and it's Elevate Action Sports. If you've not yet gone and checked it out at elevateactionsports.com, it's a collective of riding coaches, the likes of which has never been put together. Grant Langston, Ryan Hughes, Jeff Emick, Johnny Campbell, and myself, David Pingree, bringing all of our years of experience in professional racing to one place with professionally produced videos and all kinds of supporting staff to help you with your mental side of racing, your physical side, your bike setup, your bike maintenance. We cover it all. Get to Elevate Action Sports right now and join the community.
Dunlop. There is a reason every AMA championship in the past decade was won on Dunlop tires. They are the best. Choose the best performing tire and a brand that has never wavered in their support of our sport. Choose Dunlop. Pro Circuit. Pro Circuit products are designed with one goal in mind: winning. Through passion and hard work, Pro Circuit has operated the most successful 250 team in the history of the sport. They use that same formula when developing exhaust, engine, and suspension parts for every brand. When only the highest level of performance is acceptable, trust Pro Circuit.
Since 2009, Seat Concepts has been dedicated to making the best aftermarket seats. More comfort, more grip, more riding. For 10 years, we've continued to raise the bar. Innovation and American craftsmanship makes Seat Concepts the world-leading manufacturer of power sports seats.
Something from nothing. That's what Nihilo Concepts is about. It starts with a spark, an idea, a concept, which leads to a design, and finishes with engineered excellence with the highest quality products created with durability in mind. All our products are made in the USA at our state-of-the-art facility in Stuart, Florida. Whether you are a weekend warrior, ride for fun, or at the highest level of competition, Nihilo Concepts offers innovative titanium, aluminum, and carbon fiber parts for your dirt bike. We offer a wide variety of products that you can customize to your liking. Browse our site for foot pegs, brake tips, engine components, specialty tools, frame grip tape, lever grips, carbon fiber components, motor stands, our secondary on-switch, plus much more. Head to NihiloConcepts.com and see for yourself why factory teams like Red Bull KTM, Rockstar Husqvarna, Troy Lee Designs Gas, Orange Brigade, Club MX, KLM Gas, and some of the fastest riders in the world choose Nihilo Concepts.
Specialized Bicycles. Specialized leads the way in the world of bicycling. Whether it's cross-country racing, downhill, e-bikes, enduro, road, gravel, dual slalom, dirt jumping, or all mountain bikes that do it all, Specialized has the perfect ride for you. The brand is synonymous with engineering excellence and innovation that steers the industry. Visit your local Specialized dealer for a test ride and see just how good Specialized products are.
I try to keep on keeping on.
With a rich history in motocross, Pro-X has been dedicated to supplying quality components since 1975. Whether you're rebuilding an engine or just need a new chain, Pro-X Racing Parts aims to bridge the gap between OE quality and affordability. Pro-X has over 9,000 part numbers and over 60 different product types that are manufactured by highly reputable or even OEM suppliers and are offered at affordable prices to help keep riders on the bike instead of in the garage. Visit ProX.com to search parts for your bike or check them out at your favorite online or local dealer.
A lot of us have been talking about the Stasic generation of riders, and you forget how quickly things can change in a sport that is as young as motocross. That's 6-7 years that these bikes have been around training riders. So we have a Stasic generation out on the racetrack. A lot of those riders surely were raised on Stasics, and the skills they show are next level. All the things that coaches have been teaching riders on larger motorcycles for decades, they're doing it younger than ever, and it's hard to believe the Stasic generation is already here.
All right, welcome back, guys. That was your Troy Lee Designs timeout. If you haven't gone over to see everything Troy Lee Designs has, check them out. The new helmets they've got, amazing. One of the safest helmets in the sport. They've really pushed the envelope with safety and advanced that. Also, all their new gear line is out, mountain bike stuff, paint department. Check out our friends at TroyLeeDesigns.com. All right, so Larry, kind of next thing I want to ask you about, you won 6 Virginia City Grand Prix, and I've never done it, but I keep getting asked from people, hey, you need to come up and do it. And then I ask around a little bit more about it, and they're all, dude, that race is brutal. Like, brutal. And so I'm like, maybe I'll wait. Maybe I'll pass on that.
I don't know.
6 times you won it.
Yeah, and I don't know how the format is these days. When I rode them, they were 1 year could be a 25-mile loop. 1 year could be even a bigger loop. It could be dusty, it could be snowy, it's just like crazy weather.
Northern Nevada,
and it was and it was 4, 5, 6 hour. It was super long. So yeah, it was pretty tough. I did well there. Again, like I've said it before, it was just like it's not a sprint race, it's a marathon race.
Yeah.
I was the marathon runner, and you just keep on going and just, pretty tough.
Is there a point for you, like I've talked to some of the guys out here that do Grand Prix, and the races are 90 minutes.
Yeah.
and they say, I just train for an hour, but by that point I'm into just a flow, and I just, I could go even longer than an hour and a half. How are you managing that? A 4-hour race or, whatever. Did you just kind of find a rhythm and then?
Yeah, you do. You do. You settle into a pace that you can just run, and then you just can keep running it and running it and running it. You just keep hitting your laps, right? You keep hitting your marks. Yeah. So it's sort of the same thing as, you get into that groove, and sure, you could go harder if you had to, but what your comfort zone is, what my pace, my comfort zone was faster than most, so you just settle in, and there was days where my pace wasn't good enough, and those are the days you got seconds or thirds. Yeah. But typically the harder the event, the longer the event, that sort of played into my favor.
Were you a big trainer? Like, did you grind through your motorcycle career pretty hard, running and cycling and that kind of stuff? Cycling,
a lot of riding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not really a lot of gym work. It was more, you need to have, again, you're the marathon runner. Mm-hmm. You don't need bulk. You need that lean and mean.
Yeah, lean and mean. I think a lot of it's mental too. When we had Stanton on a couple weeks ago, he said that his parents told him, look, you're in great shape. So when you start hurting, just know everyone else is hurting worse. Exactly. Give it 2 more laps and you'll break them. And he goes, I lived with that through my whole career. Yeah. Like, I would remind myself of that.
I think that's so true. Especially like you said, you rode a GNCC. It's really easy to it's like, this sucks. I just want to quit. I just want to cry. Yeah. So I've been there. Believe me, I've been there. So it's
I've never had my butt and hands so raw. Yeah. I couldn't even sit on the toilet for about a week.
Well, when I did Dakar, it was an 18-day rally. So I think riding off road, your ass is part of your training. Getting calluses. You get calluses in your hand from hanging onto the bars. Well, I think your ass gets calluses too.
It does. Yeah. Yeah.
You ride a lot, you train a lot, you're ready for it.
The Adelanto Grand Prix. You were a multi-time winner of this. This is a really historical event, kind of like the Ulster Grand Prix, that's come and gone in different iterations for years and years. You have any good memories from that one?
Yeah, for sure.
I'd love to see it come back.
Once upon a time, I was called the King of Adelanto. But no, so again, back in the heyday of the Kawasaki Team Green days, we and I was living in Hesperia. I actually the one year it's a big moment for me, but I rode 7 different classes, 7 different races, and I won all 7 of them. So it was
you had a nice calluses built up on your butt before that race.
Well, those are short races, but still, it was busy. There was 4 races on one day and 3 races on another day. And trying to remember all the races. It was unclassified, and then they had the vintage, and then 250 and open. Then there was the vet race, the pro race.
Jeez. They're probably like 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, something like that. I forgot exactly how long. A little more than an hour, I think. But yeah, that was. So I think that year I got the King of Adelanto title. One other year I won 5 out of 5, and then Ty, after I pretty much stepped down, Ty was he got crowned the new King of Adelanto, but he never won 7 out of 7. Sorry, Ty.
Take that, Ty.
Yeah, take that.
Yeah, and it must have been cool too having a big event like that close to home for all you guys up in the high desert.
It was a great race. A lot of spectators, So yeah, it was a great weekend for sure.
Nice sandy soil. There was a lot of good things about it. Yeah,
for sure.
So tell me if I have this right. 12 Baja 500 overalls.
Let me think.
On a bike.
No, on a bike. The 500, I have, I think, 9 overalls, and then it might be now on the cars. With the cars, maybe 12 total.
Okay, maybe that's what I saw.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, for the folks that maybe don't know, explain the difference between winning your class and winning an overall, because a lot of people might say, oh yeah, I won Baja in my class.
Yeah.
That's very different than winning the overall.
Yeah. Well, to me, there's one winner, right? The fastest ET, you know, the lapse time, right? The clock starts when you leave and the stops when you finish.
Right.
So there's one guy with the fastest time. So, you're the overall winner. They break it down, overall bike, overall car. Pretty much now that's how they award the trophies and how they recognize everybody. But, you know, pretty much all of mine are overall.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you want to break down bike versus car, okay, it is apples and oranges, but, you know, being the fastest guy that day.
Yeah. And are the bikes typically faster or slower than trucks?
No, back in the day, the bikes were beating the cars, but in recent years, the trucks have gotten faster and better.
Good.
Yeah. I don't remember the last time a bike has beaten us. So I used to say it the other way. Now that I'm a truck guy, you know, the bike guys can't beat us.
Stupid bike guys.
Well, especially in San Felipe, for example, you know, it's really sandy, really whoopy, a lot of rocks. So it's like
treacherous on a bike.
It's just not that fun on a bike, right? It's not. And then for us, we can go, you know, 80, 90, 100 miles an hour and just hammer through it. And so
yeah, it's crazy what those trucks can do.
You know, we're depending on the event, but we can be close to 70 mile an hour average. So it's
quick.
Yeah, it goes through the bumps.
Is there, like, let's talk bikes specifically. Is there any? Okay, so let me get to the next stat. 10 Baja 1000 overall wins on a bike, 4 in a truck.
Yes.
So 2 different questions here. Is your mindset different from 500 to 1000? Do you have to change a lot of the way you look at it, the way you approach it? And then is there moments from either of those that stand out for you, big or, you know, positive or negative?
Well, you know, and so for me on the bike days, typically it was always just 2 riders. So your sections were pretty long.
Yeah.
You know, then later years we started using 3 riders. And that's sort of the normal now, like all the teams now are 3 or 4 riders. So yeah, the 1000 back in the day, you know, there was 3 of us, my last 1000, like I said earlier with Ty and Danny, but still pretty long stints. You know, I did the first, I started and finished, and then they did 2 long sections in the middle. But yeah, so pre-running, you know, preparing for it, just pre-running can be pretty tiring too, because you spend a week or 2, you know, practicing your section, and you go over it 3 or 4 times, maybe more, you know, just really get it dialed in. But I can remember, I have to think back here, 79, it was just Jack Johnson and I started and went all the way to El Arco, which is down by Guerrero Negro, which is basically right halfway down the peninsula.
500 miles.
Yeah, it's basically halfway down the whole peninsula of Baja. So,
which took you about 12 hours?
I forgot, something like that.
I mean, ish.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
And then I gave him the bike with a 45-minute lead, and then he got on and went all the way to La Paz and with another 45 minutes on the field. So,
jeez,
you know, we just kicked butt that year. But yeah, so obviously preparing yourself for, say, a 10-hour section, you know, it's different than in later years when we had more riders and shorter sections. You didn't really pace yourself, you know,
fast as you could
pretty much rode pretty hard.
A couple hours, 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Any of those that stand out? Obviously, that first one, winning by an hour and a half, has got to be pretty cool. I mean, you're changed out and probably already toasted up from beers by then.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
No, you know, there was, there's so many good memories. I mean, obviously winning that race was huge. The one year coming down into Ensenada and, you know, seeing the lights of the town and Jim McKay and Jackie Stewart were announcing for ABC Rivalry Sports, and they're interviewing me at the finish. And this is like in 1980, I think, 80 or 81. I was on Yamaha. Just like that moment just really stands out. Just pretty special.
Like I can imagine, I'm just picturing seeing the lights is like getting the white flag.
Yeah,
and you got it. You got a big lead. That's got to be a cool feeling.
Yeah, but the fat lady hasn't sung yet, so you know what I mean. You still gotta stay in the moment.
Yeah.
But it's easy to sort of drift off a little bit. Like whoa, come on, stay focused. Yeah. And this is at night too, and back then the lights weren't very well. Not very good lights.
Like duct taping a flashlight to your helmet.
Pretty much, pretty much. That was another exciting thing about the Kawasaki days. We really put a lot of effort into making the lights better. 89, we had a 3-light system, and then we actually used James DeGain came up with this. He used a bicycle steering bearings. So Honda was mounting their light on the frame, but so you're not steering the weight, right? But the light would never go with you. So I tested that and I didn't like it, but I did like the fact that you're not steering the weight. So that's when James came up with the idea. Well, we'll hang the weight on the frame, but we'll link it on the bearings with it, so it oscillates with the steering.
Yeah, I remember seeing that bike. Maybe at a Kawasaki function. Yeah. I was like, look at that! Like, how the heck are they doing that?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
And those lights were gigantic. I mean, I don't know what they weighed, but they were pretty heavy compared to like what Baja Designs is building now.
Yeah.
And they're LEDs, and holy cow, you turn them on and it lights up the whole desert.
Yeah, we had a second ignition, two lighting coils, 2 generators to run the 3 lights. And then they were, I believe, a Pia brand, but like 100 watt each bulb, that's 300 watts or something. You can't run that with a single stator.
Right.
So it was an external stator. You had your stock stator and then a bigger cover with that generator on the outside of it. So.
And the LEDs now draw so little amperage.
Yeah.
It's just,
you
guys were dealing with a lot more back then. So is there any sketchy moments? Like, just tell me, there's got to be something where you almost broke down, or you did and you limped it in, or there's got to be some stories. Like that.
There's some good stories. So the 1000, we had a good lead down. We're 45, 50 miles from the finish. And I think this is 1989. And my chain broke on me. This in the middle of the night. So I carried a tool bag, a waist bag with me with miscellaneous tools, and I had chain parts. And I laid the bike over. So what happened was the chain broke, but a KX500 has a circlip holding the countershaft sprocket on.
Yep.
It popped the countershaft sprocket off the shaft, so the clip's gone, no big deal. But the sprocket luckily stayed in the chain, all wadded up by my boot, So I come to a stop, and I got a flashlight to work with, and lay the bike over, and it broke in the middle of the link. So I had to get the old pin out so I could put a piece of chain in and 2 master link, to connect it. So I had the parts, but I didn't have a chain. I didn't have a chain breaker, and it was like I got like a 10-minute lead, but I gotta figure this out.
Pressure.
Right? So the chain obviously is hot. It's worn. It's worn. So you couldn't do this with a new chain, but I was able to push the pin out with my vice grips, and I used the tip of a spare spark plug. So just with the cap off, the nut off the tip of it. So I used the tip of that, a screwdriver. I was like everything and anything I could to try to get that pin to move. I laid the chain the Renthal sprocket has holes in it. So I used that to support the chain so I could push the pin through,
Okay.
out the back side of it. So I finally got it to move enough. I didn't want to hurt my master link that I was going to use. I didn't want to start beating on it.
Right.
But once I started getting it to move, then I was able to put it in the hole and then beat on it pretty good. So eventually I got the pin out.
God dang it.
I pieced it together, and so the sprocket's on, but I was worried about walking off, but I didn't think it would really walk off. But I was a little nervous about it, right? And I remember I pulled into a Honda pit because it's all lit up, right? And they just stood back like this. They wouldn't even,
Wouldn't even, yeah.
I didn't expect them to do anything, but I just used their lights. It was pretty funny.
What if they just shut the lights off?
Yeah,
on you? That would have been
I just wanted to see what was going on,
Yeah.
And I just kept my boot close to it, and with the chain on, I didn't think it was going to walk off. But and then my pit was just another, I don't know, a few miles past their pit, and James DeGame was actually there with a box fan, and we threw it up on the box, and put a chain and a sprocket and a circlip on, filled it up with gas, and I knew
your lead was gone at that point.
It's got to be gone, right? There's got to be someone like coming over the hill any moment. So that last 45 miles to the finish, I rode like there was no tomorrow, and just pinned it. And I think we won by 3 or 4 minutes, maybe.
Jeez.
So yeah.
Well, that's another part of that. Baja or any of those endurance events. Like, you have to also be ISDE too.
Yeah.
Crap breaks, and it's like, okay, what you got? A rock and a screwdriver and an old spark plug.
Yeah, and 6 days is really. I think the rules have changed a little bit now, but I know when I rode it, no one was allowed to touch your bike, other than they could put fuel in it.
Yeah.
But you had to do everything. So your 10 minutes in the morning. If you had to do an air cleaner, change a tire, put a lever on it, whatever, right? That was your time.
Yeah.
Or at the end of the day, or even throughout the day, if you're early enough to one of the checkpoints, whatever your due time was, if you're there prior to that, say you're 5 minutes early, and you use that 5 minutes to, do whatever. Yeah, it's tough.
I think when I look at ISDE, it looks really fun to me. Some of the riding, not all of it, some of it, but I just think, no way I want that pressure of going, okay, you got 8 minutes to change a tire, put a filter in.
Yeah.
I'm out. No, thank you.
Yeah.
It seems like the sketchiest, most stressful part to me.
Yeah, no, that was, you try to plan. I would, because at the end of the day, you would go extra fast to the finish to get as early as you could, right? To build some time, give you some time to work on your bike. And then what you didn't finish, okay, you got to be able to roll your bike. So obviously you're not going to change a tire,
right,
and be halfway done with it.
But you could do a filter or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'd come in, say you're 5 or 6 minutes early, and from your due time. So you would take that 5 or 6 minutes and, okay, I'm going to do, my filter and whatever, right? Get that done. And then in the morning, they'd give you 10 minutes. So, okay, in the morning, I'm going to take that 10 minutes and do my tire.
We talked a little bit about you hanging it up. Was it tough for you to, at the end of your moto or the off-road career, to walk away from the bikes, or did it help that you knew you wanted to go 4 wheels, and so like you already had your sights on something?
Yeah, well, it was sort of a combination. So, I stepped down from the being the guy. I mean, knowing that I had Ty and Danny and a lot of other really good riders that were involved with Team Green, that was pretty easy for me to just like. And I was still contracted with them, and I was still part of the team, and I was still going to other events. I would still ride, even though I wasn't expected to win Ducati anymore, I would still go, or go to an Enduro or a GNCC or something. But but I just backed down mainly from the Baja races. And I was still involved with dealer visits and, dealer show. And so I was still part of the team. So it was a gradual slowing down from the racing side of it. And like you said, and at the same time, I had my eyes set on getting in the truck and get racing. And I got lucky with that right away. I mean, 95, the same year, I got to drive 2 races for Walker Evans. Actually, I take that back. Yeah, 95. I'm sorry, 95. So, that transition was, so I got my foot in the door, and then I was building a pre-runner, and I sort of used that as a calling card. It's like letting the off-road four-wheel community know that I'm serious.
Yeah.
So I built a really nice pre-runner to use that for, going to pre-run the race courses. So I got a deal with Chevrolet, Joe McPherson. They had the Chevrolet program was very iconic for many, many years. So I drove for them for 4 years. And then, I was still under contract with Kawasaki. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, I was still doing, sort of being their ambassador, off-road ambassador. Yeah. So still doing like some works races and, having fun. But
I feel like that's a really good way for guys to get out of race. If you have some sort of involvement still and you can kind of wean yourself off.
Yeah.
The guys who just go, okay, I'm done racing, and then don't touch it. It's hard. It's like coming off heroin.
Yeah, well, I've never been on heroin, but I can only imagine. Yeah, that's
what I imagine.
I know. Like. Yeah, I can't imagine not riding.
Right.
I mean, it's just
like you said. What'd you call it? Helmet therapy.
Yeah, my hand injury here has probably been one of my longest downtimes in my whole career. I mean, I don't think I've ridden now for 12 or 13 weeks. And I mean, I've broken bones in my neck and been riding in 10. Right. It's like. I'm ready to go riding.
You're losing your mind a little bit.
But yeah, so for me, yeah, for sure. It was definitely, I never stopped enjoying it. I didn't want to have to go to the starting line and know that I had to win that race. Yeah. That was
that pressure.
That was my job.
Yeah. I mean I suppose folks who race can understand that feeling, right, of the pressure of an event. But when there's an expectation, you're being paid to win, you're used to winning. Everyone expects that Larry Rosler's going to win. That's a whole other level, and it's like why we see the Ryan Villapotos and the Ryan Dungies retire early, because there's like, what? Yeah, I'm good. I don't want the pressure cooker anymore.
Right. And they could, and it's just not in their DNA to go to the starting line and go, well, I'm going to get 4th or 5th today. It's just, that's not.
Yeah. I'll quit. I'll just rather quit.
Yeah. And that was sort of how I felt. It's like, I could have still done it, but, I didn't want to go there and sort of struggle and get seconds and thirds and fourths. I could still represent the company and still do good for Kawasaki by not even racing.
Sure.
And helping the younger riders and, still be part of the program.
Before we jump onto your truck career, I want to just ask you about your ISDE events. We chatted a little bit about it, but this 80 motor and I'm like really intrigued.
Yeah. So, and for me, the 6 days was it's a big part of my career. I mean, I'm super proud of it. Like I said earlier, growing up watching Malcolm, right, and watching on any Sunday, and to be able to somewhat follow those footsteps, the 6 days was just an amazing event every year, different country, and my first years with Husqvarna, and then a few years with Yamaha, Kawasaki, of course, the last few years. My last 6 days was Oklahoma. I want to say it was 94, but I don't remember what year it was. 89. But so in Europe, they make 80cc bikes that are 21-inch front wheel, 18-inch rear wheel. Just really small little enduro bikes, right?
Okay.
Good gas mileage, super lightweight, and so it was a class. And the way the trophy team, each country has a trophy team, they call it, and you have to represent, I don't remember, it was 3 classes or 4 classes, but the way the team score went is whoever's the leader of the class, that guy gets, he's the leader, he's 0 points. So however many seconds, they convert seconds into points. So however many seconds or points that you're behind the leader of your class, that's your team score. If you're a trophy team rider. So if you're, in the 250 class, you got the best riders in the world, right? And you get beat by 30 seconds, your team score is 30 seconds, goes towards your team score.
Gotcha.
For your country. So if we put me in the 80cc class and I can be first or second, my contribution to the team score is going to be really good, because obviously if you're the leader, you get 0 points.
Right.
Points are bad, right?
Yeah.
So that was our strategy. I was on the trophy team. You have to represent all the different classes. But so Danny Laporte was on the team. I forgot who else. And I have a funny story about the reason I say Danny. So anyway, when Kawasaki decided, this is a good strategy, right? Even for us, publicity wise, and just another little feather in our cap, right? So we took a KX80 motor, we put it in a 125 chassis, and I raced local SRA Grand Prix. I remember racing at Paris Raceway Grand Prix, and we just tested all summer.
Okay.
And had a blast. Raced at Glen Helen a bunch. And
the 80 motor would pull the bigger wheel? Okay.
Yeah, we just geared it accordingly, and, just held that thing wide open.
Wide open, huh? Yeah.
It was fun. I still have people come up to me and go, I remember you raced that 80. You beat me at SRA. You son of a gun. So we even made the clutch cover. At that point, it wasn't a quick change, the cover.
Uh-huh.
So we made a ring and made it so you'd have to remove the whole cover, just the small inspection cover.
Right.
So I could do a clutch
real quick,
really fast if it needed to. That was one of our concerns was, obviously top end, but clutch. I actually did a clutch halfway through the event. So you have 10 minutes every morning to work on your bike. And we had it set up to where,
pop it out, drop one in.
Drop a whole basket, whole thing in.
Oh, the basket and everything.
Could do the whole thing really fast. But race, it was in Germany that year, and I ended up third in the class. So my points were really good. I was really close to winning the class. So as a as a trophy team rider, my contribution to the team score was really good. And so the special tests every day. This one, I forgot what day it was, but they reversed route of basically the whole course. So the day before was an uphill through the forest. And in my class, I did good, but not against, bigger bikes, right? So the next day, it's downhill. So, on an 80 with 125 chassis, you point it downhill. It's like a downhill mountain bike, right?
Yeah.
So Danny Laporte ended up being top American, and he was riding, Kawasaki's for us. And on that special test that day, I beat Danny in the special test. So it was pretty funny that Danny's.
I beat you on an 80.
I beat you on an 80. Yeah,
that's good.
It's just a fun time, and it was a great experience. And Danny, I love Danny. So it's just really good times.
Yeah, I'll bet. Did you ever have any moments where something broke or
No, the bike did really, really well. I mean, I didn't have any issues. Like I say, we planned a clutch change halfway through, and other than that, the thing was, yeah, it was
Pretty
super,
solid.
it was super reliable. Didn't have any top end issues, it was awesome.
Did you guys win the overall any times during your ISD experiences?
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
the 2023 guys won the overall.
Yeah.
Taylor Robert.
Yep.
I'm gonna miss all the guys that were.
Yeah.
in there,
Yeah.
No,
No,
it went on with like very little fanfare. I'm like, guys, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
We don't win that very often.
Yeah. And again, just the knowledge of that race and the history, it just hasn't carried over here to the States.
Yeah.
It's just not as known. In Europe, it's, it's huge.
Right.
It's huge. So
It's like soccer. It's like a lot of things we just don't embrace over here. It's strange.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me about your jump to trucks. You mentioned in '95 you did a couple races. Did you show pretty well? Is that kind of what?
Well, real quick before we jump to the truck,
Okay.
got to remind you. You said earlier we were talking about Virginia City Grand Prix,
Yeah.
and you've been invited.
Yeah. And I'm scared to go.
It's probably an event you should probably try to go to.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Anyways, that's another Grand Prix. That was just huge during my career, and just a lot of good memories. And
Is it as gnarly as I'm getting
it's pretty
told?
gnarly. It's rocky, and you never know how the weather is going to be there. Yeah, it can be tough.
I don't want to die. I'm too old and beat up. So don't send me into a wood chipper over here.
It's a good time though. But yeah, so for I knew I wanted to make the transition, and I started building my pre-runner. And Kurt Leduc was a big help, and he a racer, fabricator himself. He helped me build my pre-runner, and he had a truck, his pre-runner, but he raced it from time to time, just some local events. He did the Mint. We did the Mint together, actually. So he gave me my first real introduction to getting behind the wheel with a full-size truck with suspension and decent.
And that's a full like trophy truck.
That wasn't a trophy truck. They call it a Class 8, so
Okay.
it's not a all tubular chassis. It's two frame rails, and then everything's sort of modified off of it.
Okay.
Wheel travel's not quite as much. Horsepower's not as much. Back then, we're only using 35-inch tires. Now we're using 40s. 900 horsepower. Pre-runners have 500 horsepower. So I didn't start off like on fire, like it was a lot to absorb. You're learning, you can overdrive them real easy, anything, right? You can, especially high speed in the desert, you miss cue, just end over end, that's a big,
Have you had some big ones?
couple of decent ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it hurt?
No. You're pretty well protected. Yeah, you're good.
You're just seeing dollar signs
Yeah,
as
you're
you're
just-
flipping.
Well, I've never had to pay for it, but I still feel bad. But yeah, so for me, I just really disciplined myself in reading the terrain, what I knew how to on a bike, and if you really apply yourself, everything I learned all the years of bikes, you start applying that to the trucks, and taking care of the equipment, and really have a feel for it, and obviously you got to learn how its characteristics. I never really
So I know, like, if you're a car racer, you practice on go-karts. What do you guys,
Yeah.
anything?
There's really
Side by sides, maybe?
Yeah, the biggest thing that you just to get out in the desert and get a feel for that would be like a side by side or the big pre-runners, full size pre-runner.
Okay.
But again, you're not going the speeds. You're not.
Big difference between 900 horsepower and even 500.
Yeah, and a pre-runner, you just, like you say, the money, the wear and tear on it, the prep, you just don't drive them that hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So what was the hardest thing for you to adjust to from bikes to trucks?
Yeah. I don't know if I really had a big issue. It's just, again, you're just having the discipline. I think that's why a lot of the bike guys over the years, the Dan Smiths, the Jack Johnsons, myself, coming from bikes, just having that discipline to pull the reins back, to just really have a feel for the equipment and because some of these guys, they can afford it, but they don't have they have no racecraft.
Yeah.
They don't have any racing. They don't know how to make good race decisions. They just mash the pedal and it's sort of a Hail Mary.
Hope for the best.
Yeah. And just like, and they break it or crash it. It's like, yeah, no shit. What'd you think was going to happen?
There's a lot of little things though that you guys, just from years and years of being in the desert, like Johnny used to always say, I'd look for dust trails.
Yeah.
And then where someone is coming at you or whatever.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that. But yeah, that's pretty obvious. I'm sure there's a ton of things like that. You guys are looking for little cues, how to read terrain, like what's the radius of this turn that I can't see?
Yeah.
What does it look like on this, the off edge side?
Yeah.
That probably makes you guys way ahead of the curve.
Well, you're on a side of a mountain, and this is it makes me laugh because I watch even some in-car footage of some of these other guys. My guys don't hardly talk to me at all. I don't need a guy narrating like
a rally.
Turn after turn after turn. It's like, shut up. I got this. But you're on a side of a mountain and, the guy yells out, right turn or whatever, it's like, yeah, no shit. Yeah. You're on the side of a mountain.
I go left, we die.
Yeah. Like, yeah, up ahead. I can see we're going to go right around the mountain, right? You're on the side of the mountain. It's like, save your breath.
Yeah.
But having an extra set of eyes, I do, my guy helps me, but not on a,
you guys have worked out what you want to hear.
Not a corner after corner after corner. So Justin Morgan, I'm sure you know the name. He's been with Honda the last several years. He's won the 1,000. I think he's got like 8,000 wins now or something. He's been riding right seat with me this last couple of years, quite a few times.
Oh yeah.
So what was fun about having Justin with me, we still moto together, and but I don't use the GPS like everybody else does. I'll put in a few friendly reminders. Like we might have 25 notes, and Luke McMillan has 2,500.
Oh
it's
my
like
gosh.
his guy's calling out every, rock on right, turn, whatever their terminology is, their language,
But it's just constant chatter.
Mm-hmm. And Justin and I are full moto. We're just like, it's like we're quiet. We're just like, hey, remember this turn up here? Yeah, that's the one. We're both playing it back in our head as if we were riding.
Right.
But we're talking to one another. So yeah, we have 2,500 notes, but it's just him and I.
Right.
Talking.
It's not written down.
Yeah, it's not written down. We're not reading it off the GPS. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun with him riding with me. But he's back on a bike this year. Probably, I'm guessing it's going to be his last year. But
okay,
he's a good kid.
And I'm a little bit naive on the truck stuff, so I don't really know what I'm talking about. But you race trophy trucks for a while, or still, or what class are you doing?
Yeah, now? Trophy truck. So, but only thing they've recent years they've created a class within the class. So it's trophy truck, but a legends. They call it legends. So it's 50 years or older. You can you have the option. You can enter as a legend, or you just enter as a regular trophy truck. So the only difference there is you're going to get a first place legend trophy, or you're going to be 5th overall. You're 5th overall either way, but then you would get awarded first place trophy. You know,
Gotcha.
I don't need another first place trophy.
Gotcha.
So I've been racing just trophy truck class.
Okay.
And 2020 I won the 1,000 with Luke McMillan. I won the 500 again here. I think it was 21 maybe. Last year I think I got 3/3. So, you know, just in the regular trophy truck class. If I would have been in the Legends class, yeah, I would have won a bunch of those. But this year, I'm in the Legends class. I'm with a different team, Lawrence Motorsports. They're out of the Banning Beaumont area.
Okay.
And a really great family. So I'm with Mikey's uncle. It's a 2-truck team. So the uncle and I are partners.
Okay.
So I'm doing majority of the miles are mine, and then my goal, my job, they told me, is to start all the races and hand it over to the uncle. So,
to bring it in.
To bring it in.
5 miles out of town. Well,
it won't be 5 miles out, but you know. So anyways, it's, you know,
yeah,
there's no pressure. It's fun. It's, you know, I still make a few bucks doing it, and you know, I have a great relationship with BF Goodrich, and you know, like I say, they're a really great family. So,
what was the best truck? I know you drove for the Terrible Earps team for a while, right? Like,
so
these are huge dollar operations.
Yeah, when I drove for them, I was with them for over 10 years, but yeah, we're 10 million a year or some crazy number. They spend a lot of money on racing. Great family again, and that was a big part of my off-road four-wheel community, or four-wheel career.
Yeah.
Because the truggy, they call it the land shark. It was an open wheel, so it was considered a class 1. So trophy trucks have to have fenders on them.
Okay.
Like look like a truck.
Sure.
But if they're unlimited, then the class 1 is unlimited, but with no fenders. So it's like a buggy.
Okay.
So basically the
same thing with no fenders.
Yeah, the truggy was a trophy truck with no fenders.
Gotcha.
So we won the 1,000 together a couple times. We won, you know, we kicked ass in that truck a lot. I call it a truck. It wasn't a truck, but yeah. So the Herbst family, that was a big part of my career there. I got to drive the 1 year. So Mark Johnson moved over to PPI when he left Kawasaki, and he was involved with the IndyCar program, working with Cal Wells. And so in the year 2000, they had the Baja 2000, just to sort of make a big deal about the year 2000. So Ivan Stewart, you know, was the man, right? He's the Toyota guy. And but Mark Johnson said, look, Ivan's not going to do the Baja 2000 by himself.
So were you guys going down and back?
No, they just zigzagged their way all the way down. Okay. So it was right close to 2,000, 1,900 miles or something. But Mark said, he goes, Ivan's not doing this by himself. You know, he sort of made it clear that the Iron Man needed a partner. I don't think Ivan was much a fan of that, but you know, Mark knew who he was going to call. So I'd already made the transition. I was driving for the McPherson team, and so we put together that deal. I only did those. There was 2 races that year: the Nevada 2000 and the Baja 2000. Unfortunately, we had mechanical problems in both leading, so that was a little frustrating. Mm-hmm. But the Toyota, that was, you know, I mean, it's iconic. You know, Ivan, of course, sure. and that truck, pretty special.
Dropped a lot of quarters into that video game.
Yeah.
Ivan Stewart off-road.
Yeah. No, for sure.
How do you compare your truck career to your bike career? 2 totally different things. Were they?
You know, it is 2 different, but I have to say, I mean, all those years racing bikes, it's like, really, I did all that. You know, I sort of have a hard time remembering.
Seemed like another lifetime.
Yeah, you know, I mean, great memories, of course, but it's just like just a whole nother lifetime. And then these recent years driving, I mean, it's been just amazing as the same, you know, it's been amazing. So, this last Baja 1000, we did a deal. I was still with the Baja Jerky guys, which I brought you some Baja
I'm
Jerky.
anxious to try it. Yeah.
A little shout out to Baja Jerky. But Eric Brandt, awesome guy. And him and I have become friends. And so I've been driving his truck for the last 3 years, and we did a partnership with Toby Price.
Oh, okay.
And Paul Wheel. Paul Wheel's from Australia also.
Okay.
And so the three of us teamed up together for the 1000 this last year. It started in La Paz and finished in Ensenada.
Yeah. Do you like that? I thought that was kind of odd.
A little odd, but it turned out okay.
Did it?
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't so sure at first, but all said and done, La Paz is a huge, the town of La Paz is awesome, and it's a huge racing community, big fans. And
okay.
So
fun to end there.
It's fun to end there, but it turned out to be okay to start there too. We had a bit of bad luck right off the start. Paul started and got a flat right away, and that truck. It was their truck. It has onboard jacks that drop. You have a switch on the dash, left or right side. So they lifted the car up. They changed the flat, and then retracted the jack. But I think he hit the opposite side by accident and didn't realize it. So he went to leave. The opposite side jack was down, and it obviously hit and bent and got up into the rear trailing arm. Couldn't move. They had to literally take the whole assembly off the truck. Yeah, it was a nightmare. 20 some miles into the race, and we had over an hour downtime. So we weren't going to win the 1000 that way.
That sucks too.
Yeah.
You're doing the whole race going, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Might as well just pull it in.
Well, I'm watching all this I did the middle section. Toby did the last. We had it broke up into thirds. Basically, it was Paul did the first 300. I did 500, and then Toby was doing 500. And I'm watching it on the live stream, and I'm just like, so he finally got to me, right? And I'm in the middle of the pack, and I know I'm over an hour down. It's hard to really
hard to get motivated.
Hard to get motivated. Yeah. I mean, we did okay, but all said and done, we ended up like 7th, I think. But I got in the car. We're like 40th physically. And I just, okay, let's just see what we can do.
Is it not miserable too, being that far back? It's got to be dusty.
Oh, just dust and silt. And it's crazy. The dust is crazy.
You're probably not used to being that far
back.
Well,
we're always in dust. But I mean, we had some really bad silt beds. It's like baby powder. It's just a sea of silt. And the ruts are as deep as this counter. And it's pretty stressful, to say the least. And then the dust, of course. But you just, you got to make good decisions, and it goes back to pre-running and being prepared. And I got through it all fine. It just a little frustrating.
I imagine. Well, so the last one you won, how old were you? Because I know there was a note in there about you were maybe 64 when you won the last.
I think it was, I'm going to say the last one we just won was 2020 maybe. So 63, 64.
Yeah. It's pretty cool winning the Baja at that age.
Absolutely. My very first Baja 500 that we talked about, right? 1972, I was 15. And then I overalled the 500 here recently. And I don't remember my exact age, but it was like
it's a big window.
48 years later, I overhauled it again,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Okay, so what have you been doing? What else? I know I found out that you owned a KTM dealership at one point.
I did for a while. I was partners with Bill Baroth and Donnie Emler, actually.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Where was it?
Up in Hesperia.
Oh.
Yeah. So I lived up there for about 15 years when I was with Kawasaki and training and riding. And then when that starting to, change, and I stepped down from being the guy, and still have my relationship with Kawasaki, but things were getting less and less. But that opportunity came up with Bill and Donnie. They've been longtime sponsors of mine and friends, so we had the opportunity to start the dealership up there. Donnie had an idea of starting another pipe company to create competition for the competition. You know what I mean? So if there's more choices for people, but he happens
Just
to
more
own
market share.
But he happens to own both of them. So that didn't ever fly, but that was part of the business plan. But yeah, the dealership.
Do you remember what he was going to call it? Did he have a name for it?
I don't remember.
Okay. I've never heard of that before. That's interesting. It's kind of like KTM buying Gas and Husky.
Yeah.
I was always like, it's the same bike. I don't understand it, but they're pulling
More
market share.
Pulling more market share, yeah.
Smart.
Yeah. So Scary Fast, he was marketing some stuff with Scary Fast.
Mm.
I think that was going to be the pipe.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So the sort of lost my thoughts here.
I just was kind of like, what have you been doing outside of just truck racing?
Yeah.
Since the dirt,
So that I went through a divorce, moved to Orange County. I was driving for the Herps, and we sold the business. Bill and Donnie, we all stepped out of it, and then I've been really lucky with the driving, with the Herps, and with my truck racing sponsors. I've been able to make a living.
Pretty busy with just the truck stuff.
Yeah.
Huh?
And then in recent years, now with the Navy SEAL training, that's really taken quite a bit of my time, but it's been really good work and good money. I mean, last year with Baja Jerky and with the Navy, I made more money last year than I've made in my whole career. And
Is
I'm
that right?
67 years old. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So
That's
this
great.
year it won't be quite as good, but it it's all good.
Yeah.
Well, I just started collecting Social Security too. So
You're living fat.
I'm living fat. No, I've been so lucky.
Yeah.
I've been, honestly with, and I don't live large. I don't drive fancy cars and trucks, and I have two little ones. I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. My daughter's 16, my oldest daughter.
So
But,
three kids.
three kids.
Okay.
But
Was it hard to start over with new little ones?
No, it's been fun.
Yeah.
And they keep me busy and moving. And my wife, she's not working, but we're with everything going on,
She got little kids.
She's working. Yeah, she's got the hardest job in the world. No, it's we're busy. We're busy, and it's having a lot of fun. This last spring break, we just did a little road trip in the motorhome and checked out Arizona and did all the Tombstone and the Meteor Crater and the Petrified Forest and
Sedona. You go through Sedona and Brown Flag and all that.
Yep, and then up to Jerome, the mining town on the hill. Yeah, no, it was a great trip. But it's been dropped my bike off yesterday to get the suspension serviced and ready to go. My fingers are feeling good, so
You're about there.
I need to go riding. I'm leaving tomorrow for Ensenada for the Nora 1000. So I'm in a trophy truck. It's a Geyser trophy truck, working with some friends that I've worked with before in the past. The truck owner's from Australia, but he had to have some heart surgery. He's fine, but he's not ready to race. So they called me up and said, "Are you
Want to jump in?
Want to jump in?" I said, "Heck yeah!" So it's a 6-day event, sort of a rally format.
Okay.
The way they do it, So I'm super excited about that. So it's a badass truck and 6 days of ripping through Baja.
Cool.
So
How's, you mentioned your finger, but how is your body overall? All these years, the truck's probably not too hard on it, but are you beat up pretty bad?
I think I'm doing pretty good, all considering. 20 plus broken bones, I think, total. Hip replacement. My neck could be feeling a little bit better,
Broke that racing?
Yeah, but just tight, you know what I mean? Flexibility wise.
Yeah.
Well,
listen, anyone that raced motorcycles.
I mean, I can say, like my shoulder rotator cuff is, not 100%, but like I said, I'm 67 and I'm I'm ready to go, I feel I don't want to slow down, I feel like,
well, and I think if you do, it gets worse.
It's got to.
Yeah, you're going to stiffen up even more. Yeah. So even if it hurts and sore, you got to get out there and just get after it.
So
sounds like you've done pretty well. I mean, you're going to hear me grunt and groan when my knees step off this chair.
And like I said earlier, for me, riding my dirt bike is it's helmet therapy.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. And then if it rains, I ride in the mountains. McCain Valley is close to me, so it's just
where is that?
It's just east of El Cajon in the mountains.
Ah, okay.
Right off the 8 interstate.
Kind of by where Jeremy's ranch is. You ever been out there?
Yeah, just past that. Okay. So it's an OHV riding area. Gotcha. It's all good single track, and so it's about an hour door to door for me, from home up to there, and so I typically get up there, ride for 3 hours or so, and then an hour back. So that's my helmet therapy. Try to sneak that in a couple days a week.
Right on.
I mean, not lately, obviously, but in the winter, especially if it rains, it's like game on.
It's amazing.
The dirt's like chocolate cake, as you know, like you said, Ritchie Canyon back in the day.
Beaumont and Ritchie Canyon are still my two favorite places to go ride.
Yeah,
but you got to have rain, and that's not super often out here.
Yeah.
Well, the last question we have for all our guests is kind of a legacy question. It's how do you want to be remembered in this sport?
Wow. Well, yeah, that's never really put any thought into that. I mean, for me, it's just I've always given it 100%. I've never been one to give up and quit. So I think just knowing that. My dedication to the sport and to my craft, that I always gave it my all,
Yeah. Well, I think just looking through the record books, that's going to be pretty evident. I appreciate you for, kind of a lot like Danny Hamill. You're a very smiley, friendly guy. I think you're great with fans. Every interaction I've ever seen with you, people come away thinking, man, what a good guy.
Yeah.
And I think to me, that's the biggest compliment.
And that means a lot to me. I mean, when I go to Mexico, like on the poster I brought, and I didn't come up with this, they call me Senor Baja, it's like Mr. Baja. And the fans, I mean, it's an honor, I mean, I carry that on my shoulder with a lot of admiration and respect. It's like they look up to me and they're huge fans, right? So it's an honor,
Yeah.
So
well, it's been an honor sitting here and chatting with you. Thank you so much for taking the
appreciate
time.
I appreciate it.
I'm glad we got to go through your story, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Awesome.
Well, stick around. That was Larry Rosler's story. We'll be back to wrap up the show. Yamaha is the industry leader in two-wheeled fun and performance. Celebrating 50 years of YZ in 2024, the Blue Crew is still dominating shootouts and competitions. Yamaha, revs your heart. Troy Lee Designs is the leader in off-road motocross apparel and style. So whether you're looking for a cool new paint job for your helmet, maybe your name and number on your helmet lettered on, you're looking for new gear, you're looking for mountain bike gear, off-road gear. They've got the brand new Scout line and GP and SE models. Troy Lee Designs has it all. They've been leading this industry for decades, and they're going to continue to do it. Check out TroyLeeDesigns.com. SKDA is a moto graphics and seat covers company with several offices based around the globe. For too long, bikes and graphics have all looked the same. They just start to blend together. SKDA is working to change that. With super clean and unique design work, a bike with SKDA graphics stands out in a crowd and adds a touch of art to the world of moto. Hey, we need that. SKDA prides itself on providing premium customer service both before and after the sale is made. Visit SKDA online to view the current product range and get in touch with their team to get your bike refreshed. I want to just make a mention here that these guys, not only is their design way outside the box, very, very cool. They'll work with you on custom things. The products are incredible. Okay, they'll speak for themselves. But what's really awesome, and you'll notice this the minute you order one of these, man, they give you an email saying, hey, the product's been shipped. Hey, the product is here. It landed in this spot. Hey, it's coming today. Hey, your product's been delivered. They just so good about staying in touch with you and letting you know where it's at. Customer service is 100%, and that's just something that's rare these days. Check out SKDA. Here at the Whiskey Throttle Show, we're all about supporting brands that support our sport. And there's one tire company that has never walked away from the sport of motocross and supercross, and it's Dunlop. When times got tough and the economy took a crash, Dunlop stepped up and stayed with our sport to support it and the athletes and individuals that love it. Their MX-53 line and MX-33 lines absolutely dominate this sport. Every national championship at the pro level has been won in the last decade, and nearly every single amateur national championship at Loretta Lynn's has been won on a Dunlop. So if you're looking for high performance, you're looking for amazing quality, and you're looking to support a brand that never turns its back on our sport, there's only one choice for you, and it's Dunlop. Pro Circuit is the leader in aftermarket performance and quality. Whether you're looking for a little more horsepower out of your engine, some quality hard parts to improve the way your bike feels and looks, better handling through suspension or linkage arms, Pro Circuit is where you need to stop. It's your one-stop shop. You can go in there and get everything you need to make your motorcycle go from average to exceptional. Pro Circuit's got enough number one plates on their wall to side an entire home, and there's a reason for that. They're very, very good at what they do. The highest quality products with one goal in mind, and that's winning. Check out ProCircuit.com. Nihilo Concepts is leading the way in aftermarket hard parts. With their secondary on-switch device, something that was much needed in this sport, they've been innovating and bringing new products to market. Their latest is the new Nihilo Run Cool brake pistons. They're designed to be stronger than stock and provide exceptional cooling performance with less brake drag. Most OEM calipers pistons are made from aluminum that just can't hold up to the heat and extreme demands of serious racing. When they get hot, the aluminum will distort, causing loss of hydraulic pressure and brake failure. Nihilo's Run Cool pistons limit the area that boiling hot hydraulic fluid is able to come in contact with the piston, leaving 2/3 of the piston volume in open air with breather holes to enhance the cooling ability. It's made of a proprietary stainless blend, which is better at dissipating heat. You have issues with brake fade or brake failure, check out Nihilo Concepts among their many amazing hard parts and carbon fiber parts and titanium. NihiloConcepts.com. Seat Concepts is the leader in motorcycle saddles. If you're looking for a new cover or a new seat entirely, Seat Concepts is the place to go. They make custom seat foams catered to your height, weight, riding ability, riding type. They also have waterproof covers and foams that will not break down if you ride in a lot of inclement weather. And they pride themselves on being much more comfortable than OEM or any other aftermarket company. If you're looking for a new seat or a new cover, Seat Concepts, there's nothing better. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than Pro-X. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, Pro-X makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. A complete engine rebuild kits for the Polaris RZR 800s. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than Pro-X. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, Pro-X makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. A complete engine rebuild kits for the... If you've got a little Grom that's looking to get started in the motorcycle world, the best way to get them going is on a Stasic bike. They've got multiple sizes, so from your very young Groms to those who are a little more grown up, you can start them safely. They've got controls that allow you to control the speed so he can't get going too quick. They can touch the ground. There's not a lot of noise to distract them. It's the perfect way to get your child involved in motorcycling at a very young age. And if you've got a kid who's already out ripping, there's series popping up all over. For those of you in Southern California, go to www.ameminicross.com and join their local series. If you're outside of this state, contact your local track and ask them about starting a STACYC class at your local track. Get over to STACYC.com and check out all they've got going on. And finally, last but not least, Specialized Bicycles. If you are in the market to start pedaling, this is where you want to start. They've got great entry-level bikes all the way up to the Cadillac, the new Levo e-bike, anything in between, man. It doesn't matter what kind of riding you're doing. Go check out and start with Specialized. Don't waste your time on something that's going to break. The derailleur's not going to shift after a couple months. Get something quality. These guys make it. Specialized leads that industry. All right, guys, well, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed Larry Rosler. I really appreciate him taking the time to come in. What an incredible career. If you follow off-road, I mean, LR is a legend. He is kind of unrivaled when it comes to Baja and off-road and his versatility. Like I said, going east, doing ISDEs. This guy's elite level, certainly on the Mount Rushmore of American off-road guys. And still winning Baja and competing in his late 60s. Like, pretty impressive, pretty cool career. So I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Want to mention our partner, Ketone IQ. This stuff, and we're talking about endurance events, incredible for mental clarity and focus. Ketones are actually your body and brain's preferred fuel source. It's easier for your brain to grab this than to try to break down carbohydrates into a sugar that it can use. So these little shots, they don't taste great, but I promise you, try one and you will not believe the difference. For me, I don't do a lot of endurance stuff anymore, but the mental focus and sharpness, it's undeniable. I've got my kids on it. The Reeds all use it. Millsaps uses it with all his guys. Pretty much every leading rider in the Tour de France is using it. Marathon runners, any endurance sport, this is becoming super popular with the upper echelon folks. So check it out. And we have a code if you guys want to try it. It's hvmn.com/WTM, Whiskey Throttle Media. 30% off. So buy a box. They come in a little pack of 4 and just see what you think. No caffeine in it, no sugar. So there's no crash. You can stack this with a pre-workout. If you like to have a little caffeine, don't feel like you're going to OD on caffeine. This has no caffeine. It's simply a fuel source, but it works incredibly well. So check it out. We're stoked to have them on board. Hey, and you know, for that matter, we do a lot of due diligence before we bring a partner onto this show. You can look behind me. Every one of these brands is elite level companies. They only make the premium products in our sport. And so I stand behind every single one of them. If you are in the market for any of these products, please check these guys out first. They support this show, and that's how we're able to keep bringing it to you. So support them. I thank you guys so much for tuning in to everything we're doing, not just here on the Whiskey Throttle Show, but all our Whiskey Throttle Media stuff. So keep tuning in. I appreciate it. Subscribe, like, all that nonsense. And thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching and listening to the Whiskey Throttle Show. Be sure to like and subscribe to get notified when new shows go up. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And visit whiskeythrottlemedia.com for additional content.